Here we go.
Go.
We
I like it.
We are back. So we had a little bit of a hiatus for a number of reasons, but one of the biggest ones is that we were sort of figuring out what Get Shipped Done made sense for, and it wasn't really making sense for what we needed to move forward. But since then, I have been refocusing around helping people with webinars, and I forget if I had been doing that when we were last doing Get Shipped Done or not. I don't remember.
I don't think so.
Yeah, so I've shifted, and so we were actually recording content for your show last week, and really we did, after doing it, we did a Get Shipped Done session where I was just helping you through my first part of the process of helping somebody develop out webinars. And so I was just thinking through it. I was like, you know what, like this is just sort of the same thing, just as what we're doing with Get Shipped Done, but this specific process. So I just figured we'd bring this back alive. There we go. There we go. I was just figured we'd bring this back alive and do the next sessions in here, because that seems to make sense to me. So that's what we're doing here. Any other context we should add to that?
I think that's it. It's like a special What You're Doing webinar series specifically for SaaS founders. And, referrals while you sleep. I got some of my first lenders from, that's how we met in 2020. We did this. And so we're going through your system again, because you've made it exponentially better. And referrals while you sleep, the realtor waiting list is now exponentially better. And here we're going to get shipped done like peanut butter and jelly.
There we go. Let's do it. All right. So really our first step of the process here to dive in. Let me go ahead and present my screen. Share screen. Click the button there. There we go. And we'll have a little bit of inception for a second. Okay. So part of what I need to do is I need to get us the transcript from our last session. What was the date a week ago? Was that the 31st?
It would have been the 30th. June 30th.
Right here. There we go. And I'm going to copy the transcript from that. Okay. And then actually I'm going to, so new development, I'll tell you about this. I have been working in the Claude app more than the web interface at this point, mainly because it's given me access to a whole lot more MCPs, right? So now MCP, for anybody who doesn't know, is Model Context Protocol. Basically, it's kind of a different servers with suites of tools for AI to be able to take action on your behalf. There's also it's able to get context through documentation and potentially pull in prompts and stuff like that. Not all of them are using that, but really there's been a couple of them that have been really useful for me. Clay.earth one has been useful. This one actually I could use in the web interface. But these could only run locally. This Obsidian MCP tool, I only know how to run it locally. And then my lean time one, I might be able to run it remote, but right now I only know how to run it locally. So the only way that I could do that is through the app, so that I could pull up those servers. So anyway, just that I have all those tools available. That's what we're gonna do for that. Does that make sense?
Yep.
All right, let me check. Do I already have a project for you? Referrals. Why am I referrals while you sleep? I do not. I'm going to set up a project for you.
Perfect.
While you sleep. This is what I'm typically doing for my clients as well. Is setting this up. That way I could start adding project knowledge as I need to. And having a clear spot for these chats. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to throw this in here. And then the other thing that I'm going to say, so let me pull up Obsidian. So I have a lot of these processes documented out in here as well. So I'll have it reference back some of the some of the information that I need it to. That's not the right one. I want it. Here we go. Process. This one. Here we go. All right. So in Obsidian, I'm going to copy this path, copy file path. Perfect. And I'm going to say, please assess this call. Okay, let's do this actually. So in Obsidian, view this document and understand the process. The call recording is essentially a discovery call. After understanding the Fusion Fellowship Reactor process, please go through and start creating needed documents based on the call with that in mind. Also, separately, give me a quick overview of what was accomplished on the call and what we said next steps were. All right, that should work. And so here's part of what's cool about what this is going to do. So this is going to go through. It's going to have that transcript, but it has access to my Obsidian locally.
That's awesome.
So it's going to go through. It's going to get that document. That's going to tell it where to find all these other documents as well, to be able to extract them. So yeah, here you can see it just went through and it got my discovery call framework to see the kinds of questions that it typically flow through. And then now it's putting together this business strategy template, or it pulled that so that it could understand it, because that's part of the process too. Okay, now let me analyze the call recording and create the needed documents. First, I'll create a comprehensive overview. Okay, so what was accomplished? Perfect. All professional referrals while you sleep show. Passive aggressive Claude is fun. Okay, key accomplishments: business foundation assessment, gather comprehensive details about Charlie's business model, customer counts, revenue structure, target market, market position validation, partnership opportunity. Yep. Okay. Webinar strategy determines has strong expertise, success stories, investment timeline, establish budget parameters, and growth goals. Okay, $100 per client per week, customer value. Okay, next steps agreed upon. Okay, and so it's actually where is it creating this? Strategic client Charlie referrals while you sleep. All right, perfect. So it's gonna create one for me. Let's see if it actually creates the folder itself. I'm not sure if that'll work. So I might have to create the folder for this to actually go through. But part of what it's doing, it knows that I have this folder structure. So you can see I have other clients in there. It's going to create a file for you.
That is pretty cool.
And it's starting to create that. Let's see. So did that work? Let's see. Text file created successfully. Okay, cool. Hey, look, there you are.
So
we have your business strategy document created based on our context. We'll go through that in a second. Now let me extract the key information and create initial hook ideas based on what was discussed on the call. Let me get the hook collections template first. All right.
Man, this is really cool. You're not using any API tokens. Like, this is just your now. And are you paying the $100 or $200 a month for Claude?
I'm not. I'm still on the $20 a month.
That's amazing.
Yep, still on the $20. Now I do end up hitting my limits pretty often doing this process now, where I wasn't before. But man, it's doing so much more. Yeah, well, we might actually talk through some of these. It's going through and extracting potential hooks. We didn't actually talk about hooks, so let's see. Oh yeah, so here, let me while it's doing
going through everything here, huh?
Yeah, while it's doing that, let me show you some of like what this process looks like. Okay, so the discovery call, the key outcome from a discovery call is to essentially get some foundational information to assess if the webinar process is a good fit, right? And we did that. But in the process, we actually gain a lot of information that makes sense to start fleshing out some of this documentation too.
Right.
So, and I'll explain that in a second. The strategy session, we haven't done this yet, but we'll see. We might have covered a decent amount of this already. The strategy session is designed for us to go through and extract out, potential hook opportunities, things that we could do webinars around, right? Because part of my process at this point is really where this strategy fits in is how do we consistently communicate to your list in a way that activates opportunities that they always enjoy receiving, and yet still creates opportunities for sale, right? And so the your list could be a little bit vague. In this case, I think for you, we figured out there's an opportunity for some other people's lists where we might be able to do more webinars for other people's lists. And so this concept still works for that. But the whole idea is, in order to do that, we have to bring value in order to earn that opportunity. And what ends up working is that we want to be able to do that consistently. We don't want to just have one and then be done, right? We want to kind of have a deep bench of opportunities to be able to pull from to say, I could do this one, I could do this one, I could do this one, I could just keep going, right? And so that's what the strategy section was designed to do, is extract out all those different hooks for like, what could we speak to that people would find value in? Once we go through that process, the next step of the process is to actually say, okay, so we've got all these hooks. Now let's deep dive into one of them and actually flesh it out. Say what are we going to cover on this webinar? What's going to be the really the foundational thing is the core teaching, which is what are we actually going to convey? What is the process? How does somebody get value? What's the key value that we're delivering? But in order to deliver it as a webinar effectively, we also need to document the who documentation, which is going to be things like your credibility, your origin story, failures, learnings, that sort of thing. Because that ends up coming into the slides. We also want to document whatever the offer is. So the offer in this case is going to be what we would offer on the webinar. It might be a discovery call. It might be, for you, it might be the, why am I forgetting the word? It starts with a T. Free trial?
Trial.
Yeah, that's what I'm looking for. If you have any,
I think it probably will be like, I like the thought of saying, hey, if you'd like help with this, book a time with me. I'd love to walk you through it.
Right.
That seems like the best way to do it.
Perfect. So yeah, we'll go through and we'll talk about that. But yeah, so the idea though is that these are some of the core documents that we create in order to then use those documents as the context to then actually flesh out the webinar itself. And for that, I have my Mother Webinar template. So it'll go through and it'll start building out our actual slide content and all of that from those discussions. So this is the process that we're flowing through. But like who documentation, especially, a lot of that comes through even in the discovery call process. So right. So there's some level of this that might come through that automatically. Let's hit continue. There we go. It hit its mask. It was just doing what it needed to. So I had to let it continue. Like it's just still going through its own process. That's funny. I love that. But
amazing.
Yeah. So this is part of what's so cool about this. And keep this in mind, as you go through this, if you have a well-documented process and you really understand it, literally by me saying, hey, go through, here's the thing, understand it. It's now able to go through and take action on a lot of this. We'll see how it does.
It's even following the links. That's what's really cool.
Yeah, because it can do that, right? So these are all linked together in this database. So it's able to see, like what other documents it needs to look up in order to dive into the specifics. And I did that intentionally so that I could point it to one thing and it has the map of everything else that it needs to go through and do. So I could sit back and we could just chat while it's doing what it needs to. Oh man. quick offer document based on what was discussed. Let's see what it comes up with. So I think this one might be documenting referrals while you sleep as the offer itself. This will be good to have. It's not exactly what I mean when I say offer documentation in this case, but it'll still be good to have. Yeah, I need better words for some of this, because like hook as like the word that I use for hook, or the when I say hook, really what I mean is like the core value that's offered on a webinar. But hooks are very commonly used as like, you can have different hooks for the same core concept. When you're running like
the transformation of the webinar.
Yeah, the transformation. That's a good way. That's a good way to describe it. But it's same thing. When I say offer, like it is an offer.
The call to action, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's literally whatever the call to action of the webinar itself is. Because for some webinars it'll be a product sale. For some webinars it'll be a discovery call. For some webinars it's, it's usually one of those, right? Right. It might be like a very specific discovery call to see if a high ticket thing is, what somebody needs or whatever. But yeah, it's still going, man. Let's see how good it does. I'm actually not sure. It might be taking too much action. We'll see. I've analyzed the discovery call recording and created the complete strategic foundation documents for Charlie's webinar development project. Here's what we've accomplished. Comprehensive business assessment, gather detailed information about Charlie's 9K MRR business, serving loan officers with clear path to 33K target. Market validation, confirm strong fit for webinar strategy, partnership opportunity, validated by referral only relationship with major strategic asset, 100K plus members, 20K loan officers. Competitive positioning clarity, establish Charlie's unique market position as only realtor who helps loan officers serve realtors. Investment and timeline qualification, confirm budget capability and realistic growth expectations. Next steps, strategy session, 2 to 3 hour deep dive. Again, you're not paying this, but this is what's normal. 2 to 3 hour deep dive to develop specific webinar hooks and implementation roadmap, hook prioritization, focus on top 3 concepts, relationship imbalance, leads or liabilities, and refi boom preparation. We'll see. Yeah, we'll see what we find in that. Partnership development. What's that?
We'll see if that's it.
Yep, exactly. Consecration, build systematic webinar approach. Key documents created. What is this linking to? I don't know what that's linking to. Interesting.
Attempt was made.
Yeah. Like the documents here, you see it created these documents. Yeah. But yeah. Complete business intelligence context, 12 webinar concepts with priority ranking, speaker credibility and origin story, offer document, service structure and positioning, discovery call summary, complete overview, and next steps. Let me look at that one real quick. All green lights criteria met. So yeah, on my discovery calls, I have the things that are green lights or red lights. I still actually need to go through and confirm how much I agree with it. Because like I have an intuitive understanding of that.
Right.
But it's basically when I'm asking questions on a discovery call, I'm assessing, will what I do actually help you, right? Because if it doesn't, I don't want to work with you.
Right.
And so yeah, so proven business model, you have that, right? So you have a track record of success already. That's part of what's required for me, because my it's not required, but it's definitely like it's my ideal.
Right.
I would have to be really convinced that somebody's onto something if they don't have a proven track record. Clear expertise. Yep. Existing assets. So you have enough of a potential audience to get in front of that. This makes sense to run right now, right? Yeah, that's fine. Urgency and commitment, clear goals and timeline, teaching enthusiasm, natural educator with live streaming experience. Ooh, there you go. So
look at that.
AI says that you'll be good on these webinars. Realistic expectations, understand timeline and process requirements. Yeah, okay, perfect. Key business intelligence gathered. Okay, that's all fine. Target market. Leads or liabilities. Dual message. 13 years experience. Competitive advantages. Okay, webinar strategy. Immediate next steps. Strategy session. Review the biggest client success stories. Case studies. Okay. Compile common press. Prep for strategy session. Review biggest client success stories and case studies. Consider expertise areas most excited to teach. Compile common questions for prospects and clients. Think through what differentiates approach from competitors. Hook development process. Immediate priority hooks identified. Why loan officers always owe realtors. Love you, buddy. My son just brought me coffee. He keeps forgetting to put ice in it, so he just rolled his eyes at himself. He's like, I forgot again. Anyway. Why loan officers always owe realtors and how to fix it. Why smart loan officers stop chasing leads. How to keep realtor relationships during the next refi boom. Maybe. Yeah, we're going to talk through a little bit more. We're going to talk through the hooks because this isn't exactly what I'm looking for. These are good concepts, but they aren't clear transformations, right? They're or at least, yeah, you're good. Thank you. And you're good for that. Thank you. Extract detailed. Yeah, all that's good. Partnership strategy. Yeah, that part's good. Okay, let's look through some of these. So this is kind of the core document. Comprehensive working document. Founded, not specified. Okay, so let's get some of these in here, so that we can have this anything that's missing. So when was Referrals While You Sleep founded?
It was founded in 2019.
2019. Okay, cool. And then I don't think location really matters for Referrals While You Sleep, but you're in the Nashville area.
I am. Yeah.
Yep. Okay, perfect. Website for Referrals While You Sleep is notmoregreenhomes.com. It's referralswhileyousleep.com. And then email for Charlie for this specifically is charlie@referralswhileyousleep.com. Not more green homes. Okay. Description. $100 per week, $21 per week ad spend, current performance, 40 total clients, 5 loan officers, approximately 30 realtors, key team members. Yeah, this isn't exactly, not exactly a team member. This is context. So this is a context document that I could constantly refer back to as well. Where it's like if I'm working with multiple people, I'm reminding myself, okay, who are you? And who are these other people that maybe don't talk as much? For you, gotcha. It's you. But like if we're hopping on calls, and like talking to like your developer or like VA or something like that, like we would start adding those people into here too. Does that make sense?
That makes sense.
When I say we, I mean I would use AI to help start adding people into here. Right. Business model and performance, revenue structure. Officers 52, never churn. Average deal size 26 annual per includes 4+ referred realtors. Okay, yeah, perfect. Revenue recognition, weekly recurring, current performance metrics. Current MOR target, gross 15, growth target at 10, loan officers, churn rate, cool. So you can see these are questions that I asked, and it's just getting it documented into here clearly for us. Okay, primary customer segment 1, 10+ years of business, independent loan officers, brokers, 95%, have assistant / team help. Psychographics, believe in sphere of influence, want to give more help than they receive, successful already but want to grow / thrive. Think outside the box. I'm reviewing this so that I have it top of mind as we go through this information too.
Makes sense.
Maintaining relationships, buying behavior, have been through coaching, ninja selling, buyer Froloni, Buffini. Is this core training? Is this spelled right?
Yes.
Okay, just making sure. Since it's a vague enough term, I wasn't sure if sometimes there's like specific acronyms or something, or spelled a little bit weird or different or something. But systematic relationship building, helping. Okay, perfect. So we have 2 realtors through loan officers, working with progressive loan officers who use the system. Pain points: want big, easy, consistent checks and to go on vacation, versus traditional lead generation value drivers. Compliant clients versus leads, which are liabilities. See, market characteristics. What were you going to say? Something?
I thought that's pretty cool.
Indeed.
Yeah. So I did look up. There's actually they say there's 350,000 loan officers.
Okay. So 350. With that in mind, do we need to address this at all? Does this change at all? Do you think it's still the top 1%?
Yeah, I think it's still probably the top 1%.
Okay, perfect. Market trends, cyclical refi booms, shifts toward relationship based. This is kind of important. Do these qualifications, are they still good?
Yes.
You want to read through them?
Yeah, so 10 plus years in the loan business, independent loan officer broker, already successful, don't need this to become successful, want to grow realtor partnerships, basic technical skills, Zoom, file upload, that's all right. Ideal customer characteristics, through relationship, they've been through relationship focused coaching, believe in sphere of influence marketing, want to help realtors versus just get business, already know how to talk to real estate agents, have good sphere of influence. Yep. Red flags, disqualifiers, love chaos, stress of difficult deals, i.e. first time home buyer specialist, brand new to lending, want to exit the business, don't want realtor relationships, cannot handle basic technology. Yep, that's all right.
Good. All right, current state assessment, what's working, successful strategies, 90-day trial, removes friction for new customers. System actually helps loan officers get 10 to 15 realtor partners, create systematic, maintainable relationships, bi-weekly calls are manageable, time commitment. High performance channels, buyer referral only mastermind, referrals, 4 out of 5 current loan officers. Is that right?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. I didn't remember that. I love that AI catches those things. Because it's interesting. Like, I feel like our brains only take in so much. And right. I know a lot about what you do with this, right? So, but like hearing of the specific breakdown of numbers, I did remember, I don't want to lose my spot too much, but I did remember this. I did not remember that 4 out of 5 of the loan officers were from buy referral only. So that's good to know. I
had never noticed that before.
Right. That's a powerful insight there. 10 years, mastermind credibility. Yeah, perfect. Indicating system works, growing challenges, no systematic lead generation beyond referrals. 90-day trial creates cash flow challenges, limited proven acquisition channels, time limitations for one-on-one onboarding, lead finishing, completing, market barriers, cyclical industry, education needed about versus transaction. And I mean, when we go after the right people, there's less of this education needed, right? But
that's true. Yeah.
Internal limitations. Consider himself 80% finisher, feels okay versus locked in, limited marketing beyond mastermind network. And we're only halfway through this document.
Wow.
Jeez. For technology. Let me see. Strategic opportunities, partnership opportunities, product service expansion. Okay. Partnership asset analysis. Other partnership opportunities. Yeah, so this is where we start. We potentially look at expanding into there. Content expertise, all of that's good. Success metrics, KPIs. All right, this is mostly my data. Action items and next steps. This information may not be accurate. Sometimes it doesn't do a good job with that. Meeting notes and context. Appendix. Okay, all right. So that really this is like a, it takes the thousands of characters and tokens and whatnot that were present in our call, and it distills it down into the core insights that are needed for us to have a high level understanding of like what your business is, who you're going after, all of that. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
All right, let's see how it did on the Who document, just because I'm curious. Speaker credibility and track record, 40 current clients, loan officers of 0%, churn rate, partnership network, only person in market who's both successful realtor and understands loan officers, direct credibility, origin story. Yeah, I think we need to go through this a bit more. It makes sense why it started down this, but this isn't exactly what's right for what we need for this. I was just kind of curious.
Yeah, sounds good.
Okay, and that one we looked at. Initial hooks. All right, what did it find? Why loan officers always owe realtors and how to fix it. 15-minute bi-weekly system that builds million-dollar partnerships. That's pretty good. Teach the specific interview-based system. All right. Yeah. Okay. From coffee meetings to consistent partners, the interview revolution, transform traditional relationships from building time-intensive individual meetings to valuable systematic interviews, market timing, competitive advantage, how to keep realtor relationships during the next refi boom. My smart loan officers stop chasing leads. The loan officer's secret weapon, making weird 10 to 15 partner blueprint, building a realtor transfer of influence marketing for loan officers. Differentiation beyond gift cards and Monday calls. Yeah, so I mean, this isn't exactly what we look for the hooks. So it's capturing some of the concepts. How to become this is more in the vein of what I would call like the traditional hooks, not the transformations that I look for. It's capturing some of it because we talked through some of it.
For my part, I really like the just I'm putting it from me, the if you go down a little bit, the go down a little bit more, the beyond gift cards and Monday calls, what realtors actually want, and how to become the loan officer realtors fight over. I really like that. I actually like all those. The one thing every successful loan officer knows that others don't. For me, I've been thinking about kind of just lead magnets and whatnot. And, I like all of those.
Yeah, and so they're good concepts. They're good concepts for sake of like if you want something compelling to say. But yeah, for sake of what I'm developing out, they're not exactly the right. They're not the right thing. And it's not that it's not even that we wouldn't use them. It's more that they're that substantively they're not the right concept. Which is so let's go through and start. Well, actually, here, let me see how well it did this. Marketing system, core promise, loan officers, bi-weekly interview calls. Just want to see how well it documented this. Client experience, what clients receive, end result, target, qualification, pricing, value proposition. Potential add 200,000 annual revenue through 10 plus realtor partnerships. Engagement, initial contact, urgency. Yeah, we might develop out some of that a little bit more too, because some of that might be wrong. But okay. So let's do this. Let me pull up this document. Let me pull this up. Okay, so these are the things that I typically would cover on the strategy session. Okay, so We plan for a decent chunk of time. Although right now, I mean, we got to wrap in like 30 minutes. So we may not accomplish everything on this. It took us a little bit of time to get things up and running and working today. But yeah, so I let people know, like, hey, I work live together. You already know that. The outcome of this is that we want a clear roadmap of really the ideal outcome is two things. One, we have a deep bench of ideas that we could use, but two, we figure out which one we want to start with, right? So that's kind of the clear outcome. The way that we do this is that we're going to go through. I'm going to ask you some questions about like what you're doing that works and why. And from that, we figure out, okay, these are things that we could teach on, where we could actually give people this value, and it would do that well. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
All right, perfect. So let's dive in. So first off, I'm just going to recap real quick the webinar, or maybe you do this. Recap the webinar that we already developed. Like what was the core teaching of that webinar, and what did we describe to people?
Yeah, so the core teaching was actually just about the referrals while you sleep.
Did I lose you?
Can you hear me? Check 1 2 1 2 1 2. Can you hear me?
Oh, I can't hear you. I lost your audio.
You cannot hear me?
It might be me.
Let's see. Check
Just
check 1 2. Yep, it is you. 1 2 1 2 1 2. Check.
Yep, it's me.
Check 1 2.
It switched speakers on me for some reason.
Can you hear me now?
Oh, I think I'm gonna pop out and come back. I think.
All right.
I'll be right back.
Perfect. All right. So we're gonna see if Zach comes back here in just a minute, and we're gonna talk about the first webinar we did in 2020 and how what we went over, and things have changed quite a bit. It's pretty fascinating. It was during the plague, and I'd be walking in the park and we just talked through all this. So a really great webinar used for 5 years. And now the big insight is this really helps loan officers get realtor partners, not just grow their own business, which is really cool. And so that's what we're going to go over now. How to, I've got some different words for it. The realtor magnet, like that idea. Realtor attraction method, or the original was the realtor waiting list. Stop being the chaser, start getting chased. Build a waiting list of realtors wanting to send you business. And it's exciting because it works. All the referrals that I've gotten, the lenders that are working with me, it's time to offer this to a few other lenders like me. And we are back. Can you hear me?
I think Chris just died on me in the middle of this. So I just quit it and restarted it. Okay. So yeah.
What the previous webinar was about?
Yeah. Walk me through that.
Yep. So the previous webinar went over how referrals while you sleep markets you to your sphere of influence. Okay. So it showed that, the old way was, this is how you built your list. This was how you built your content. And this is how you distribute it. And then and then once you do that, you go out and you do fun things with fun people.
Right.
And so it was all about, the easy way was, we sync your audience, we create your content, we run it as distributed ads to that audience, and you can be you and do fun things with fun people. So it was not at all about how to use this to get realtor partners. It was all about how this can get you a few clients a year on autopilot.
Okay, perfect. And so that webinar was very much a slow lane versus fast lane sort of concept as well. So we were explaining, hey, here's how you could do this manually versus the easy button of using referrals while you sleep to make this happen on autopilot. So you mentioned we weren't using it to explain how to get realtor partners, right? So tell me a bit more now. What are some of the high level ideas that you are walking people through that's working for them? What right now, if somebody wanted to use referrals while you sleep to get realtor partners, what's the high level process for them to do that, like step by step?
Yeah, so there's 3 steps. So the first step is you invite a realtor to do an interview, and you say, "Hey, I'd like to interview you, and I'll give you the content and share it with my sphere of influence." So that's step 1. There's a lot of different ways they can do that. They can do the Facebook post. They can reach out to the realtors they're currently working with. They can ask them for, hey, who's the coolest realtor in your office? Any way that they can do that. So that's step 1. Step 2 is if they like working with the realtor, they follow up and say, "Hey, I do this with a few realtors every other week, and would you like to do this? Try this for 90 days. My media team will create all the content for you. It doesn't cost you anything. And let's see if I can help grow your business and see if we like each other."
Okay.
And then step 3 is at the end of the 90 days, if they like the realtor, they say, "Hey, I've really enjoyed this. Would you like to keep doing this?"
Perfect. Okay, so at the end of the 90 days, if they like the realtor, and again, there's also a portion if the realtor likes them, right? But that's sort of a given, is the idea.
Yeah.
Where if they've continued doing this, then that by itself is kind of a good signal of that, right? So that's part of your concept in this too, is the realtor filter of you're able to see not only who do you like working with, but is it somebody that this process will work with? Because do they keep showing up, right?
Right.
Because if they don't show up, it's not going to work well for them. They obviously aren't motivated by that. They might still do business with you, but they're not going to be a good fit for how this helps you help them, and how it turns it into that perfect partnership, right?
Right.
Okay, so that overall concept is a good webinar hook all by itself. There's potentially, and again, hook/transformation. I think my documentation still says hook, so I'm going to say the word hook. But when I'm saying hook, transformation, that's what we're looking at. Another one in there that I see that could be really good. So this starts to speak to what I call, we have our higher level system, right? That, like, this is the overall arching system that we figured out. There might be more to the system overall, and we'll talk about that in a second. But what's cool is that we can actually teach sub steps of this system, and still be giving people value, and yet reminding people of the bigger system as a whole, right? And it creates the need for, it creates demand in and of itself. So, like, for instance, one of the things that we could do is the webinar itself. Like the promise or the hook of the webinar might be like the easiest way to get conversations with realtors where they're actually excited to talk to you.
Right.
And that webinar is just step 1, right?
Right.
Where you teach them, here's how you reach out, here's how you do this, and then here's what you actually say. So, like, here's how you deliver on it. And so we teach them step 1, but that creates the need for, like, okay, well, hey, this was great. So this becomes a solve step 1, solve step 2, right? So this was great, but now here's the problem that you're going to run into. The problem that you're going to run into is, how do you keep that relationship alive, right? Like, how do you keep this going? That's where referrals while you sleep comes in. And what we figured out is that if you do this consistently, here are all the benefits. Here's all the ways that this helps you, right? Does that make sense?
Yep.
Okay. So for that webinar, if we were just diving into step 1, things that I would cover on it, I would cover things like, who do you select? Right. And you don't necessarily have to speak to that right now, but we might in a second. So who do you select? What do you say to reach out? What are the different ways? what do you actually do on the interview? What's the technology that you like to use to make that interview, possible, and why? Like all those things. And then once you have the interview, what do you do with it, right? Like what's the simple recommended way to handle it? The way that you think through how you process things, all of that. That sort of idea, maybe even some level of technology that you would use for that. And then that also creates a slow lane versus fast lane as well, in the sense of we're introducing them to all the ways that you would process it and saying, hey, you could do that, or we could just do this for you, right? So you're creating some of that demand too. I am curious, what are some of the things that you would do to select the right realtors for that? We'll get that documented now just while it's coming.
Yeah, so go look at some lists like MMI, which is list of realtors based on production. Focus on agents that do usually 6 to 15, maybe max 20, but really 6 to 15 buyer sides. It could even be 4. Let's just say 4 to 15 buyer sides because we're in a lower market. You don't want to look for people too small, and you don't want to look for people too big. And then the areas that you're looking for. So that's one way. One of the favorites is you ask your current top 4 or 5 realtors, hey, who's the coolest realtor in your office? And then you can call that agent and say, hey, there's an agent that said that you're the coolest agent in the office. And, so you can have that conversation. Another way is
just to double down on that. So the reason why that one works is people tend to like other people that are similar to them, right? So if this agent says this is a cool agent, then you're potentially also selecting for, if you like working with this realtor already, who they say they like is at least a decent indication that you might like them too. So you're selecting for, and people on those things tend to recommend up rather than recommending down. So you're likely getting a recommendation to somebody who does more business rather than less, and yet they still are in alignment on being a cool person that you'd actually enjoy working with. So people tend to surround themselves with like-minded people. So if you liked the first one, their recommendations are a good approximate filter for the next one. Okay, what else?
Yeah. And one of the other cool things about this, since it is content to their sphere of influence, this isn't leads, this isn't per zip code. There's not competition there. But your abundance-minded realtors are going to realize it doesn't bother them at all. It doesn't affect their business, which you always got to think about, because the average realtor is going to do max 30, but probably 10 to 20 deals a year. So each one is 5 to 10% of their income. So it's a big deal. And so that the other is you call your favorite people in your sphere of influence, and you ask them, hey, who's a realtor that you really like or have heard good things about? So it gives you a great opportunity to reach out to your sphere of influence, people you enjoy. I think that's the big thing.
Makes sense.
And then the last one is you can, and we've had success with this with kind of interesting results, is you can post on Facebook, on your personal page, on the different groups. Hey, I'm looking to interview a realtor in the next 2 weeks to highlight as an expert. If you know someone, please put their info below. What's interesting, we've asked for that before, and no one has said themselves, but even other realtors has recommended other people. So your sphere, so you'll get recommendations. So again, you're able to call and say, hey, you were recommended for this. This is the place where I'm going to highlight your expertise.
Right. Yeah. And so I love that. So and that one has a hook. There's a number of problems that it's potentially solving that are in the right vein of attracting the right people, right? So the loan officers, the lenders that are tired of gift cards and donuts and coffee meetings, where where they're chasing people in order to just try and get the opportunity to talk. This is different. This is, you're getting that opportunity to talk, but they perceive it as something that they actually want, something that's going to help them get business, something that they want to do, and that you have the opportunity, right? That they're being invited to, rather than them feeling like it's something that's you chasing them, right? So I love that one as a hook. Okay, and so then step 2, if you like working with them, follow up and do the trial for the next 90 days. Yeah, if after the 90 days, if you like the realtor after that, keep doing it, right? So those are the steps.
Right. So
tell me about the process of, so 90 days. So in that we have the, we have the process itself. So tell me more about, like, what are they going to be doing in the 90-day trial, and how does that process work? Let's talk through that at a technical step-by-step level.
Yeah. So jumping into that, when my suggestion is, when you agree to do the 90-day trial, you actually look in your calendar and you come up with every other week. So that's going to be 6 calls. And so you're going to schedule each of the 6 calls right then, put it in your calendar. You'll invite them with the Zoom link. The reason we use Zoom is because everybody's got Zoom. You don't want either of you to have to meet in the office. Real estate's a crazy industry. Like, we don't know when we're going to get called anywhere. The realtor can be called to another place and they can hop in and they can just do it from their phone. In their car. Like, it can be done anywhere. The goal is to make this as simple as possible. What you want is you want, face to face. You want a relationship. You want to get to know them. And so how can we make it as easy as possible? That's why we use Zoom. So you set up all 6 of the events. What's cool is this actually coincides with Google's research of the 7-11-4. So now you've ended up with 7 different meetings at the end of this. And, I like to find sometime early in the morning is my preference, before noon, because afternoon busy agents get busy. And, pick it, first and third Tuesday, or, 8 a.m. or 9:30 a.m. It's a realtor, so maybe 10:30, but whatever time works. And I can say that I am a realtor. And so you set that up, you send the invites when you hop on the Zoom call. So one of the things, they're not pre-scripted. We don't go over the scripts ahead of time. What we've discovered is that the juice happens in the live authenticity. In today's world with AI, being able to fake everything, so much synthetic content. The more authentic and raw it is, the better. Another reason we use Zoom. And so you hop on and you just kind of chit chat. I like to bring a topic, so you can always ask the realtor, say, "Hey, do you have something you want to talk about? Do you have a past client, a deal you're working on?" If not, then you say, "All right, well, here's my suggestion." And the suggestions are, what's their seller process is one call. What's their buyer process is another call. Is there a client that just when they talk about just brings a smile to their face? That's always great. What does the market look like now? The 5th is, it's actually usually my first one. What I like, hey, why did you get into this business? Why do you still do it? It's hard. What's your, what have you done in the past? What's your favorite part about it? How do you get your business now? And then the last one is, I like, you can always go back to how's the market. You can almost do that weekly. You can almost always talk about their buyer seller process, because you can talk about the whole process or just one little bit of it, because they're going to be I like them to be less than 15 minutes, because if it's less than 15 minutes, we can post the whole thing on Instagram.
Okay.
So 12 to 15 minutes is usually kind of a sweet spot for me. And then, so you're like, all right, well, that's what we're going to do. I'm going to hit record and we're going to start talking. So you hit record, you say, hey, I'm here with Zach Hammer with the best real estate company in the world. I'm Charlie Madison. And today we're talking about what's the market like? And you have a conversation. And so when people say, all right, like, do I need to plan? How does it work? There may be some realtors that like have to have a plan. So if that's the case, you can send them an outline ahead of time. I've realized that's rare because we're in real estate. We're used to adapting on the fly. You and the realtor are already talking about this stuff all the time. The only difference is you're hitting record. But if so, you can send them an outline. And the conversation, the way it works, it's I call it the surfing conversation.
Okay.
In that if you've ever surfed or tried, when you first get going, you got to really dig in and you paddle and you work hard. And then all of a sudden, the board catches and you just flow. And then at the very end, you just kind of come to a stop. And that's what this conversation is like. In the beginning, you're just going to be talking, kind of figuring out. And then all of a sudden, you kind of forget that it's being recorded. And you just drop into a great conversation. This is where the magic is. This is why we don't just do short clips. Short clips create attention, but long clips create connection. And when you're having this connected conversation, it is reminding everyone that, I love being connected with this lender, with this realtor. They really know their stuff. People go online to escape. They don't go online to be sold. Hey, if you know anyone that wants to buy, sell, invest, call me. They're trying to escape. So they can drop into this conversation. They can enjoy it. And then as it comes down to a close, be like, oh, well, thank you so much. We'll do this soon. What areas do you serve? And how can someone reach out to you? And I always want to just give a cell phone. That's what most people do. Just give one thing. Yeah, my cell phone is this. I'll have them repeat it. And I'll say, all right, thanks again. We'll talk soon. They hit stop. And here's probably the coolest part. The lender just uploads the file to me. They'll have a private upload link. And then we handle everything else.
All right, cool. So I love that. There's a number of things that come through. So for one thing, I gotta give you props. I think the surfing conversation metaphor is probably one of the best I've ever heard for just like how clearly I connect with that. I love it because you're right. It's a lot of work to get started, but then it just takes off on its own and it just ends naturally. Like the way that metaphor fits together with what you're describing, props. Like that's a really good metaphor. Anyway, now whether or not it makes it specifically a good hook is a little bit different. It's really good for illustrating what you're describing there. Okay, so things that I see from hooks from what you just described. So we covered, well, I guess we kind of did this for number one, where we covered the selection process. Second. So, yeah, we covered the selection process. I'm looking through my notes here. Yeah, so that's kind of step one is that. So when you're actually working together, so you have the, really the working together is the how do the calls work, right? And so the how do the calls work are, what's the technology? You covered that and why. What's the outcome that we're looking for? And we're looking for those 12 to 15 minute clips. We're doing it live without a ton of preparation. You covered why. You also covered like what we talk about. So you talk through, what's your seller process? What's your buyer process? Think about a client that brings you a smile. What's the market doing now? You mentioned that you could always go back to the market. The client one is always a good one too, because I feel like as people are working, like you do this over time, the more recent client story, right? Where you can think back through client stories. That's a good one too. Why do you, then you have like,
and I specifically say, what's a client? I'll say, you don't have to mention their name. That brings a smile to your face. because they immediately smile and they start gushing about how they love their clients. And people want to work with people who love their clients.
Right.
And like you're going to get more of them. And so it's a nice little like ninja like way to like bring out that connected emotion so that they bring more people like that.
I love it. Okay, so let's see. So and then you have like what I would call the origin story. Why do you do what you do? Why do you still do it? Because it's hard. I don't know what my note is here. It looks like I said favorite part. I don't know what that is.
Favorite part?
Favorite part. There you go. Yeah. What's your favorite part? That makes more sense.
Yeah.
How do you
get?
Tell me more about how do you get business now? But go ahead and say whatever you're going to say.
Yeah. So another question I like to ask is, at the end of a transaction, what is it that you want people to say about you? Like when it's all said and done, like what do you want them to say about the experience, say about you? Ask, hey, how do you get your business now? So I really like this origin story really is the first video, like the initial interview, because this lets the lender know, like if the person gets most of their business from their sphere of influence, lets them know if they've got a client that they smile about, lets them know like why they do it, why they get up in the morning, like is it like do they have a vision, a passion that the lender, because what we're doing is we're transforming the lender from a chasing vendor into a real selective growth partner.
Right.
That doesn't take a lot of time. And the key is you got to meet, like, without getting woo, you got to meet heart to heart, soul to soul, like someone that you like truly enjoy, like Mark Day right now, he's about to go on a whitewater raft with some of his realtors. Like he is happy to be spending, a day with him.
Right. And he's the client that brings a smile to your face, right?
Exactly. He is the origin story. And and then how do you get your business? That helps a couple things. One, if you meet with them deep, like the goal is you double down, gives you opportunity, leads or liabilities. So I love that. And
just so I understand it more, talk me through a little bit, like what sort of things come through on the how do you get your business? Are you hearing, I work with a ton of Zillow leads, or I do open houses, or like what sort of things come through on that?
Yeah, my main thing is I want to see, are they primarily sphere of influence, referral base?
Okay.
The other thing is it'll let me know kind of what their work ethic is, like what all, how do they get their business? It'll let me know, like if they're doing Zillow leads or other things, like as a lender, what are the quality of pre-quals I'm going to be sending out? Like, am I going to be, because one of the cool things about working with a great realtor that has a great sphere of influence, for me, example, like I may send you 7 people this year, 6 of them are going to close. And 6 of them are going to close with you because they're going to follow my direction. Whereas if someone's working with leads, you may be giving out 30 pre-quals and close 1 or 2 a month, maybe. And they're probably going to be price shufflers, because there's just no connection. There's no trust. There's no authority. So that's a good question. You're wanting to see, again, how can you help them as a growth partner? You either find out, oh, wow, like you do get a lot from your sphere of influence, or you don't. Gives you opportunity, like, hey, like this is going to be a big opportunity, or you can help them double down. The best referrals while you sleep clients, when it connects leads or liabilities, they're like, oh, I wish it wasn't true, but it is.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense. So part of what I love about these different questions like that, it could potentially be a webinar by itself. It would be like a subsystem of all of them. But I think for a webinar for that one, going through the mechanics of like, what do you talk to people about in this 90-day trial? What are the things that you're doing? You can explain through the process of like why you're asking these questions, what you're getting to know about them, but why it's also good content. You could talk through for each question, like, why is this one important, right? Like, and maybe here's what's important to you as the lender, but here's kind of how it connects them to their audience and how it connects them that way, right? Like, so like you could sort of do it for both standpoints of walking people and giving them that. So and you covered all the questions, and really what's cool is like as you discover new questions or adapt them, like you could change that one out or whatnot, and that would work well. So that's a really good one. Tell me more. Go ahead. And
you might have been asked this, but one of my favorite stories is what I call local move up or local relocation. People that are moving up or down.
Right.
Most realtors don't focus specifically on that. You hear them talk about first-time home buyers. That's my favorite. If as a lender, you can help your realtor realize that really the best, most profitable is return on trust. And if you get one client that's going to do 2 deals, it's usually not just double. It's usually like 30% of what you get. So really helps for profitability, especially dollar per hour.
Right.
So that's one thing. And then there's a couple things that this specific scenario solves. And there's another coach that has this thing called Thor's hammer. And his process is, how to get all the realtor partners you want. And it's called 40 realtors every Monday. And then you do that for 8 weeks. And then if you get one on the phone, you call them for another 8 weeks, asking to meet for coffee. And the reason I call it Thor's hammer is because you're hammering your soul and your self-worth.
And you have to have
there's no positioning.
Strength of a Norse god in order to actually even wield the strategy.
I am indestructible. So the biggest problem is, like, first of all, like, you got to get the first call. That's actually usually the hardest, which is why we've got our interview. But really the next hardest part is, how do you get the next 7? Like, how do you get or the next 6? Like, how do you actually build the relationship? Because you call them, like, you're going to call them next week. They're not going to have another deal. Why are they actually going to talk to you? Like, they want big, easy, consistent checks and to go on vacation. Like, how are you actually adding value? Like, I don't care that you're working on the weekend for a second opinion. I don't care that you're going to give me a gift card for my open house, or you want to know how I'm doing. Like, there's plenty of people that want to know how I'm doing. So what ends up happening a lot of times, lenders are chasing realtors for like 12, 18 months just to get the first 6 calls. Maybe they do one deal and then you realize, oh, like, this realtor works with terrible clients, or I don't like this realtor. And then the realtor, like, and I do this as a realtor, I will eventually give you someone with a terrible credit. Because like I'm almost just like, I'm trying to do you a favor, trying to get you off my back. Like, I feel bad that you're calling me all the time. Like, you bought, like, and so, like, you're in just like the worst position.
It's like you like, yeah. Let me speak to that a little bit. I would imagine. I don't know how most people are, but like, I have this thing where it's like, I appreciate a salesperson who's got a bit of hustle. Just like, I appreciate that about somebody, right? Where it's like, man, I understand that you're putting in the work. I'm not mad at you for that. And so, yeah, I try to be encouraging of that, but that's kind of what you're saying, where it's like, there's like a pity there, right?
Yeah. I'll give you my pity guy. Like, here, like, if you want to work that hard, like, please get off my back, And part of it too, like, early on, I was burned. I had a number of lenders that had really good presentations. Right. I said, look, if you send me a deal, I'll send you one. And what ended up happening, I sent them a deal. We got it closed, but there was pain. They didn't do everything they said, and they never sent one back. So I'm like, fool me once, shame on me. Fool me twice, can't fool me again.
Fool me twice, Through pull my teeth times, you shouldn't have fooled me. Strike, you're out.
Yeah. So like, yeah. So how do you actually get a relationship? How do you act? And so now, like the smart ones want to show up for the call because you're actually helping them build their business. So part of it's an intelligence test. Like, do they understand? You know, I love that Mark, he actually tells them up front, like, hey, you should spend $100 a month during the free trial to promote this. And he tells them, you know, at the end, it's going to end up being around $400 or $500 a month. And he wants to see if they balk at that. Because like, if they're not willing to spend a little bit of money on their business, like,
right,
I want to pursue them. But what this does is it lets you compress those 18 months into 90 days. And now you don't have to keep chasing. And one of my favorite examples is Mark actually had a realtor. He had chased for 18 months. And before the 90 days was up, I talked to the realtor that he's doing this trial with. And the realtor says, I'm trying to find a way to give him a referral. I'm trying to, because I'm grateful for what he's doing. I know it works. And he ended up referring $58,000 worth of deals, including his own son that year. And now he's referred his buyer's agent. So that's a great scenario.
I love
that.
There's
another scenario that's just as powerful. And I've got a lender and a realtor. They've been friends, colleagues for 10 years. And they had flirted with working together for 10 years. Like, they really like each other, you know?
Right.
And they're like, hey, let's do this 90 days. And it was actually like, they kept doing it after because they're really good friends. But right around 90 days, the realtor called me and said, Charlie, I'm going to have to stop this. I love this lender, but I just, like, I feel guilty. I just know I'm not, like, they're not the realtor for me, the lender for me. I've got a lender partner. I'm not going to send them business. And so now they had 10 years of flirting, being friend zoned. Now it's very clear we're great friends and we're not going to do business together unless something major changes. Like, both of those are phenomenal to be able to be compressed in a 90-day window.
Right. It's clarity, right? It's extreme. There's not this will they, won't they. It's very much a now you know, right? Now you know.
Yeah, and, it's the realtor filter.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah. So there's a lot in that. I think for sake of the transformations of the webinar, some of what you're speaking to are the benefits of the stories to illustrate it, but the practical transformation is the essentially like the, you know, here's why you're struggling to actually get people to want to talk to you, right? Like, and here's the thing, even when you talk to them, the other big thing, the next problem that you run into is actually having a good reason to accomplish the 7-11-4, right? Because people don't just talk for sake of talking. So you need a good excuse that creates that opportunity to build the relationship, but you want it to be done effectively. You want it to be done with the right people, and you want to kind of quickly know, is this a good fit or not? And have your process, if possible, help you while you're doing it. And that's part of what's powerful about this, is that this is actually marketing for the lender too, right? Like, this helps them, right? It's work that they need to do anyway, right? I mean, like, it's work that helps them anyway, right? So that's powerful. Okay, so the next problem that they run into, this is another one. I don't know if this is another hook or not, or if it would be in the same webinar. I'd have to think through this a little bit more, but something I want you to speak to when you have the recording. So we now know how to have the conversation. We know how to deliver on that. You covered that well. You covered the questions. You covered kind of the flow, how you start it, how you do the conversation, how you end it, phone number mentioned twice, all of that, right? Like, we covered that. You're doing it for the 90 days to see that. We see what the outcomes of that would be. But tell me, if they weren't working with you, what happens after they stop recording? What do they need to accomplish and why? Like, what do you create from that?
So that's great. Because I've talked to a lot of lenders that think they've tried this before. They've tried to have a podcast.
Right.
And they either do nothing with the recording or they upload the recording once on YouTube or Spotify and there's, 12 views. Maybe they'll email it to the realtor and nothing gets done. And they're just like, I just have the same boring conversation with 120 different realtors and I never got anything. And so one, like the realtor's not going to do it again with you because they ain't going to do the work. So what you need to do with the content, I think that's the question. What do you do with the content after the recording?
Yes, but more so before you go into the specifics, what's the key outcome that needs to happen with the content? So like not just what do we do, but what do we need the content to accomplish in view for the realtor especially, talk through the outcome, right? Like what
so the content actually needs to be seen by the people that they know or that people that know them, and it needs to be seen consistently by people that pass the grocery store test, which is if they saw you in the grocery store, they'd say they know you, and you may say you know them. Preferably, you'd actually walk to each other and have a conversation. Say, "Oh my gosh, I love talking to you. I wish I didn't have to go get these red chilies and go home to cook." But it's always great. So one, it needs to be seen by those people. It needs to be seen by those people.
Why?
It needs to be
by those people.
Because those are the people when life happens, if you're top of mind, they will call you. People talk about the know, the like, the trust, but in real estate, they don't talk about the most important one is being remembered. And so if you're top of mind consistently, I say we solve digital amnesia, which is that thing that the people that know you, like you, love you, trust you, forget about you right when a life event happens. They get promoted, demoted, have a kid goes to college, you get married, get divorced, and then you see them 3 weeks later and they're like, either they're like, "Oh my gosh, I forgot you were in real estate. I just bought a house." Or this one almost hurts worse. They're like, "I just bought a house. Aren't you excited for me?" And I'm just like, internally, I'm like, "No, because you didn't hire me."
That's the dead inside meme guy, the one that looks like he's crying while he's smiling.
"Hello, darkness, my old friend."
Yes. It's like single tear.
Yeah. Like, no, I'm not happy for you. I do 10 or 20 of these a year. And that's huge. And the thing is, this was created, people forget about you. Maybe their sister was a realtor for 8 months and they got off your newsletter, or maybe their kids started doing jujitsu with someone and they see someone there that's a realtor and they just see them more often.
Man, can I tell you, literally, I feel bad about this and I didn't realize it until after the fact. The other thing that could happen?
What?
I had a great experience with a realtor. Loved working with her. I didn't remember her last name. And so when I texted her saying, "My mom's going to be moving here. Do you have any, would you be interested in helping her? Would you be able to help her?" I forget how I worded it. I texted the wrong person. And so the person I texted gave me a recommendation. In my mind, I thought I was hearing somebody say, "Oh, I'm not interested in working that area right now." And so here's a person. So literally, there's sometimes it's like you literally do everything right. The person's even trying to give you more business. And anyway, it fits into this though. Does that make sense? Where it's like, yeah. So anyway,
yeah. Because we are a big part of their life for a little bit, right. And you can do newsletters, you can do emails. People spend 4.5 hours a day on screens, not including their work. They're plugging into a brainwash machine. And every morning it's brand new stuff. If you've ever seen the movie Dark City with Kiefer Sutherland, what happens? So the people go to sleep every night. The city gets rearranged. They're given different personalities and they wake up and it's brand new and they don't remember every day. That's almost what our clients are doing when they plug into the internet every day for 4.5 hours.
I want to watch that.
And
that's super interesting.
it's great. It's great. I probably watch it like twice a year now, literally because of this. Like, it reminds me, digital amnesia is real.
Right.
Like, people are bombarded with hundreds of messages every day. And so
real quick, I know we're past time on my end. I have more time, but I wanted to get a pulse on what you have for time, because we're in a good flow. But
I have more time as well today.
Okay, cool.
I am good.
Go ahead, continue.
Yeah. So like, digital amnesia is real. And so what the goal of this content is: one, it's got to be top of mind,
right,
consistently. Two, that's number two. Number three, it's got to create connection, because like I said earlier, short videos create attention, long videos create connection. And at the end of the day, they're going to hire as their realtor who they feel most connected to. The next thing is, it's got to create influence, so that it's a whole lot easier to walk them through the 5 transaction conversion points if they trust you and you've got influence.
Right.
Which leads to the last one, which is authority. Like, we want them to see you as the authority. So TikTok doesn't work. I already mentioned the little 30-second videos that say, here's 3 things you need to know about your credit, or hey, if you know anyone that needs to buy, sell, or invest in Birmingham, Alabama, call me. Because these are people that know you, they like you, they trust you. They don't need it. They don't need a USP. I'll buy your home or sell it for free. You are the USP.
Right.
They already know you. They already like you. They already trust you. They just need to remember you.
By the way, just technically and practically for you, with your strategy, TikTok would probably still work. And here's what I mean by that. If you ran TikTok ads to this audience, the strategy, I think, would still work. Because all TikTok is it's a discovery algorithm of what you've been interested in most recently, right? So the content that works on TikTok is typically, you're exactly right. It's not the right fit. But if you're on TikTok putting this content in front of that audience, it's just another distribution channel for this. So anyway, just practically, I figured I'd throw that out there. But the heart of what you're saying is completely true. Doing TikTok of this thing I don't like, this thing I do, this thing I don't like, that's not going to do any good for you.
Yeah, you want to be seen as the trusted provider.
Right.
We're kind of like an on-call, high-paid coach that when a life event happens, they call us. And so the end goal is, my clients, the other day I was at jiu-jitsu and a friend walked up and said, hey, can you help me with my mother-in-law's house? We're not sure whether we want to rent or sell. And so I went and I met them, gave them all their options. Here's what to do to rent, here's to sell it as is, here's to fix it. I talked to him just a couple last week, so this was like, and I said, hey, is there anything I can help you with? Because I ran into him. He's like, no, but you're the guy. We're really deciding, do we want to sell it as is or fix it up? But I'll let you know. Or, my friend that called me and said, hey, I got a promotion. I'm moving out of town. We need to sell our house. And I sit down with them and, I'm going through my presentation. I say, hey, do you know what you want to sell the house for? And he says, you're the expert. You tell me. And, that's the result, that you're not just meeting people. This goes to the reason that we want realtors to come to lenders. I want my clients to come to me. Art Rise, he had a book called Positioning years ago. And if you've dated, there's a difference between being the chaser and the chase. When people come to me, I'm like, they subconsciously believe I've got a plan for them. And there's something powerful about not being the chaser. I never talk to my clients about real estate because my marketing does it for me. Right. It's powerful when the marketing does it. So you want to create connection, influence, and authority. So you get, I actually call them lottery ticket clients.
Right.
They're the clients that, like, as I'm working, I'm like, I feel like I won the lottery with you. Like, this is great. Like my clients that bought a house while I was in Puerto Rico, and they call every time and say, I'm so sorry for bothering you on vacation. I'm like, I'm in Puerto Rico for 5 weeks. I'm working,
Right.
like, I'm happy to help you. I had a client that the title company made a mistake, and I was shortchanged $8,500. And we like, I knew that my clients, like, it looked like they just gave my clients extra money. And I told them, I was like, I don't know where this is coming from, and just the way it was laid out. So the title company afterwards was flipping out because, like, it was done. And I was able to call the clients and these clients and said, well, I found out what happened to the $8,500. It came out of my check. And they're like, oh my gosh, how can I make it right? And so I went over there. They wrote a check for $8,500 after closing. We overnighted it, and I got paid. Like, that's a lottery ticket client.
Yeah. They wanted to make it right. I love that. Okay. So yeah, we covered that really well. So so here's bringing us back to the foundational reason why I was asking this. So lenders have maybe tried this before, and they weren't getting this result. They weren't helping people actually build connection, build influence, and build authority, right? They weren't helping people do that. What they were doing is they were recording content and getting part of it. They were getting the conversation. They're getting opportunity to build a little bit of a relationship with that person. But the content itself wasn't actually doing any good for the realtor, so the realtor doesn't want to keep doing it, right? And so the key thing that they're missing is really doing the right kind of content, which is the 12 to 15 minutes, right? Like, that matters. Yeah. Asking the right questions that actually build this. But it matters that you're getting it in front of the right people, right? And so if somebody else was going to get it in front of the right people, what do they have to do?
So what you've got to do is, first, you've got to target everyone you know. My favorite way to do that is you export your CRM, you export your phone contacts. I like to export my wife's phone contacts. If you've got any besties, basically anyone that we've got a shared group of friends and they want to help me. Because a lot of times, like, for example, I've got the husband's phone number, my wife has the wife's phone number. I want everyone that passes the grocery store test, I want to compile that list. And then
that's really genius, by the way. Like, literally, kudos to you on thinking through that, because like think about it this way. I may be the person that actually reaches out, but you know how things go in a marriage, especially. Like, it may be that it's been on my wife's mind for months, and she's the one that says, yeah, we should move forward on this. And I'm like, yeah, you're right. Let me reach out to Charlie. Right?
Yeah,
like I may not have seen any of the videos, but maybe she did. And so it's getting both. That's genius. You're a smart man. You're a smart man, Charlie.
And and part of that is because they both need to trust me during the 5 conversion points.
Right.
Like, I need the connection, the influence, and authority with both of them. The thing is, me and you have that because we talk a lot. But me and Heidi, we've said hi over webcam. So I want both. And also, I mean, usually the wife is the decider. So, like, I need the wife to feel very comfortable with me. Right. So I do that. My wife's an identical twin, so I've also got her phone. She let me do that. My wife's in-laws.
I don't know if I ever heard that. Your wife has an identical twin?
You didn't know Cassie's an identical twin?
I don't think I knew that. Maybe
5 years later.
Maybe I did, and I just didn't remember that. But yeah, maybe you told me before I had twins, but now that I have twins, whenever I hear somebody say twin, it's like PTSD, and I twins.
Yeah. What happened? What happened? It was exponentially harder.
I didn't realize that. But yeah, anyway.
Yeah. So at the minimum, your database, your phone, and then whoever's your circle of friends. So that's step one, and then you target that online, the easiest way to do that is you upload that to Facebook as a custom audience.
Right.
Then step 2 is you take the video and you create short as well as long video because you want a bunch. You post it to your page, your Facebook, your Instagram, and that's going to get some viewers, not many. But that's step 2. And then step 3 is really the magic. And that's where you take that content and you run it as promoted ads to the audience that we created. So it's full circle. And what this does, and there's a specific way to do it without getting too technical, but you make sure it hits Facebook Marketplace, Instagram Reels, Facebook Reels, Instagram Stories, Instagram Explore. There's other websites like ESPN, New York Times, and news websites. So you make sure it hits people wherever that you basically follow all the households wherever they go online. Kind of like whenever you look at shoes or talk about French fries, and the next thing you know, you've got French fries on every website that you look online. That's what you want to do. And so my minimum is if I can, Keller Williams has this thing called Bold 100. They've got a class called Bold, and during it, there's a Bold 100, which is, can you have conversations with 100 people in one day? And if you do that, you get recognized. My goal is that my content reaches at least 100 people a day. It hits the Bold 100. People that I know. That's the magic. And often it's, 250, 300 a day. So now every single day, those people are seeing it.
I love it, man. So there's a few things that stand out about this to me. For one, I know your pricing. I know your price point. And what I love is that really people like when we describe this process, I am the kind of person that I would look at this and I could say, oh, I could do that. You would tell me this process and I'm like, I know how to do that. There's a couple of problems that you solve for that I don't know how to solve. Well, I'll talk through those in a second because those would be worth mentioning too. But then what's the phrase that I'm looking for? You drop the hat? No, that's not the right word. Anyway, but you reveal the pricing of this and it's I can't do it any more cost effectively than that, right? So it's do I want to do all this work? Or do I want to just hire Charlie to do this for me, right? And so part of what's powerful about what you set up is you could reveal this process. Somebody could be really bought into it, and then they just realize oh yeah, it just makes sense to just use your program because for me to do this would either cost enough in terms of me hiring a VA to do this or whatever, in terms of management and all that, or anyway, your pricing is such that even if somebody's completely bought in, you fully reveal the process, they still want to hire you because you have your pricing at a point where that makes more sense than going through the pain and the learning curve of the learning curve and then the time requirement to implement this, right? So, so the reason why what everybody else is not doing or why it's not working when they've done this before is because they actually haven't delivered on the thing that really makes this work, which is actually giving the realtors something valuable. And this is what's actually valuable, is getting that content in front of the people that matter. And so having systems to be able to get those contacts into the right place, set up the ads, set up the content, run the ads to that place. That's really where the true connection of the potential to the value happens. If you don't do that step, it's like it's like potential energy, right? Where it's you have a rock at the top of a mountain. Well, it doesn't turn into actual energy until you push it over, right? And this is what pushes it over. Okay. So the other thing that you didn't talk about this, but really for this to be most effective, recency in relationships matters a ton, right? And so you don't want this list to just be the people from a year, 2 years, 3 years ago when you last remembered to do this. You want this to be the people you're talking to and in relationship now.
Right.
You don't get rid of the longer, like the older connections, but you want to make sure that you're getting those recent connections, the new people that are added into that contact book, the new people added into the CRM. You want to make sure that's up to date, and that's really important because that recency can make a difference on whether or not it actually connects, right? And so,
that's, you know, one of the things people say, like, you can never grow by referral because your network dies or moves away, and so there's always attrition. Like, yes, and you're probably always meeting new people. At least you and your wife both are. Right. So, like, I know I am. You know, we've been doing jujitsu for 3 years. Like, they are my clients now. Like, I'm always meeting new people. And so, at the minimum, you know, when I did this manually, my goal was to do it once a month. It became once a quarter. It became once every 2 years to update it because it's a lot. At the minimum, though, you really want it to be once a month as you meet new people. You know. Again, I'll talk about Keller Williams. They did their famous 8x8 campaign where someone new saw something from them for 8 weeks, and then they became the number one choice. So, you know, as you meet new people, that's the prime time really to own the space in their head before they create other preconceived notions. Like, yeah, he's in real estate, but I never see him or hear of him, you know? So you want, as you meet new people, at least once a month to update that list.
Yeah, that makes sense. And so that's part of like it. In terms of when you when you do a webinar on this, I would mention this in that process to say, you want to do this. Now, here's the reality. This is part of why I made this, because you're not going to. Like I'm going to call you out on it right now. You're not going to. You might do it for a month or two, but this is a long-term strategy. You literally have to have the habit. That's why I built software that does this for me, because I wasn't doing it and I knew how powerful it was. So anyway, and so like that would be one of those things where it's like, I'd give them the answers that they feel like they can, but I'd also like remind them of the reality. Like, you're not going to do this. That's why you need to hire me. Okay. Tell me a little bit more about what's important about the clips themselves, or is it important just to have the variety, or are there things that you look for in what makes the short clips work or the long ones? Like, if I'm going to take action on this and like I need to process my long form stuff, what are the things that matter to you on that?
Yeah, here's the big insight. You want it to be as a friend to a trusted friend. Like, if you know, I love going back to the grocery. If you saw this friend in the pickle aisle at the grocery store and something came up about real estate, you would just share with them. Like, you know, it's not salesy, it's not hypey, it's not, hey, I'm the guy that's going to help you move. Who do you know? And so, the conversation needs to be, people are online to escape. You know, the best thing, like, you know, what is it, Zig Ziglar that said, if you want to get whatever you want in life, you give people whatever they want in life. People are online to escape, so help them escape. That way you're top of mind, trusted, and they remember you. And so it's a conversation as a trusted advisor to a friend. And conversation works the best when you record the clip. You want both of you to be in the clip at the same time. So most of the time, you know, for the vertical, it's top and bottom. It doesn't matter which one you are. If it's horizontal, you both, just like me and you, want to be left and right. The reason you don't want one person on screen is because the clip, the other person may be talking first. And if you're both there, it's there. And it makes creating the clip a whole lot easier. There's a lot less editing involved because, you know, you don't want to spend, you know, $500, you know, however much people charge to edit each video. You know, like with the 15-minute conversation, we should be able to get about 15 clips. So we can get some. And then I like them to be 30 to 90 seconds. Well, some of them can be 15. So, you know, I mean, no longer than 90 seconds. And but I like them to be all over, long enough to have a conversation. And the other really big trick, because you can use software like Vizard, Opus, Descript. There's lots of software to do that. They're going to give you a caption, and the caption is usually terrible because it's you as a real estate professional, and it's trained on the real estate guy that acts like the car salesman, like that's what. And so it takes it and it's like, hey, if you know anyone that wants to buy, sell, invest, I'm your guy. You need to move right now. I'm the only guy that can do it. You're the amazing. So the caption is going to be very like, So you want to make sure that the caption is as the high trusted advisor to a really good friend. That conversation, because again, they don't want to be yelled at. They want to escape. And we want this to just help them escape. And then, if you've got testimonials, you can put those in there. That works. I like to actually tie those with pictures of me. My best post ever is a picture of me and the family with a testimonial from like Google. That way people love looking at the picture and they subconsciously see the testimonial. And, that's what I want. But those are the big things. You want it to be less than 90 seconds. You want both of you to be on screen at the same time. I do like having captions there because most people don't have audio on, like captions on the video.
Right.
And then the actual,
like the closed captions, the on-screen text.
Right. Closed caption. And then for the text, you want it to be, a trusted advisor to a friend.
Love that. Some other things that stand out in what you said that I'm going to get into the transcript here. The editing is important, but it's not the kind of editing. You're not trying to be Mr. Beast. You're not trying to be, the next YouTube star with this. That's not what's important about it. What's important is that you're acknowledging the reality of what you want to accomplish. So you want to build influence. So you want to make sure your picture is in there, but you need it to make sense. So you need both pictures for sure too, because you need it to matter to their audience. You need it to matter to your audience. You need it to be clear that it's conversation. So you need to do that. You want both on there. And the editing matters for sake of getting the clips to the right size that makes sense. But you're not doing fancy cuts. You're not doing stuff like that. So there are tools that can help with that. But understanding those principles matter so that you know what gets you that right end result. I love that. Platforms, you kind of mentioned this, Facebook, Instagram.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, Facebook, Instagram, all over those places. I love Marketplace. Love the reels, the stories.
For Marketplace, you're really only going to end up there if you do the paid portion, right? So when you're when you're posting organically, normal organic places that you'd think of, but all of them is what you'd want. Yeah, that makes sense.
The minimum would be Facebook and Instagram,
right?
And you're probably going to get more play with Instagram if you had to just pick one.
Right.
But I like both. And then, you can put them on YouTube. You can put them on, LinkedIn. You can put them on TikTok. That's like all the places, are good in that respect.
Right. Just getting them out, getting them distributed. But like where you throw your money behind is typically Facebook, Instagram, right?
Yeah.
And how those spread out.
And the reason for that is because like TikTok minimum ad spend is $25 a day.
Right.
LinkedIn, I want to say is like 10. Last I checked, $10 a day. YouTube is a little bit more. We're able to get Facebook just doubled it, but it's still like $5 or less per day.
Right.
And Facebook hits the websites like Fox News, CNN, ESPN, any of those like popular websites. Hits Marketplace, Instagram, Reels, Stories. So you just are able to cover so much ground at a fifth of the price of TikTok.
Yeah, and like thinking through it too, YouTube for this style of content, I don't know if it's the right fit. Like when I think through what I go to YouTube for, it's not typically social, right? And that's kind of what you need for this. You want like, because you're putting it in front of people that already know, like, and trust you, like, that's part of why Facebook and Instagram works, because there's already a bit of that environment of that social. LinkedIn could work for this too, where there's like it's kind of, as you're going, just the people that you're connected to, right? But YouTube really isn't that way. YouTube is more like, I'm going here because I'm specifically interested in something. I'm seeking an answer for something. It's content that I'm specifically interested in. So even if you did a paid ad play where you can get it in front of people, because I think you could cost effectively, like there's a way to do it, but I don't think it's the right platform alignment, if that makes sense. So that makes sense. Okay, so okay, perfect. Let me see if there's anything else to extract from that. Walk through what do you recommend for sake of ad budgets and that sort of thing. So say somebody does the work, they get the audiences, they're updating the audiences, they're putting it on there. What do you recommend for sake of the ad play itself? What's the typical cost that you'd recommend and why?
So as small as possible, because the goal is you want this to run forever. Like according to the IRS statistics, even right now in this down market, for every 100 people as a real estate agent, there's 11.2 transactions. So that means if 500 people, there's 56 transactions. And the thing is, we don't know which of the 500 people are going to get promoted, demoted, have a baby, get married, get divorced. We don't know when the life of things is going to happen. So we want to be in front of all of them for two reasons. One, again, when they're ready, we want to make sure they remember us. But two, here's the other most powerful thing why I want this to run forever. Even if they don't move this year and they move next year, they're going to trust me more because they've built what we call the Elvis effect, or I think the official thing is the parasocial relationship, which is, I feel like I know Elvis and I've never met him because I've seen him everywhere for years. And so the people that if they don't move this year, they move 6 years from now, they're going to have such a deep relationship with you that the reason that I get so many lottery ticket clients now, literally all that I work with is lottery ticket clients, is because they know me so well in a professional context and I never talk about it. So the ad budget is as low as possible. I found with Facebook, like I said, they just updated their rules. So we've figured some ways to do $3 a day. That's kind of the minimum to actually hit Instagram, Facebook, other websites. So that's the gold standard. And that's up to a database of about 10,000. You can double that to $6 and still do really well. That's going to work well. Again, if you go to TikTok, LinkedIn, YouTube, it's going to be much more. But $3 to $6 a day is phenomenal. Long as you've got less than 12,000 people, you probably don't have a database more than 12,000 people that well. If you're doing that, that's just a different animal, because this is people that pass the grocery store test.
Right. Love it. That makes sense. Another way that might fit in there would be in the Keller Williams world. That's your Mets, right? That's your people that you've actually had a conversation with, that they at least know you from Adam, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Trying to think if there's anything else in that process that we missed. So in terms of webinar hooks overall, part of what I see in this, so transformations that we could tell people. So there's that whole process of just how the mechanics actually work to run that 90-day process. Any part of that might be able to become its own webinar. Some parts are stronger than others. I think for what the overall promise is. We walked through it really well. So we actually have the hook, or in my process, there's the hook, but then there's actually developing it out. We've been kind of merging both, right? So I'm asking about the process. Yeah. We actually have some of the core teaching around a lot of these pretty well documented, actually. What else? Okay, so we work with them for 90 days. We're running this process. You recommend doing a call every other week, so two a month, right?
Yeah, and if I can speak to the reason of that is your goal is to build the relationship, and really every week is just too much. Like the realtor wants big, easy, consistent checks and to go on vacation. Like there ain't a whole much. Also, it's not needed. The goal is how can we get connection, influence, and authority always in as little time as possible, so that when we get lottery ticket clients, we can serve their socks off, spend it, like really take care of them, so we get referrals, and then like not have to work a ton, right? And so every other week works well. It gives you a good cadence to build the relationship. 1 week is too much. And it actually lets you build a relationship. Once a month is too little. In fact, when we first started this system, when me and you did the webinar years ago, the videos weren't involved. We just ran the picture testimonial thing for realtors, and it worked. But the lender didn't get the relationship. So the reason the video is so much more powerful. And it's like you're the golden handcuffs, you build the relationship. So every other week creates that cadence. And my suggestion is you keep that cadence if you're going to keep working, even after the 90 days, maybe until you get, like you guys are doing so much business together. And like, if you're really busy in like July, August, say, hey, we're going to meet on July 6th at 10:30 for an hour, bring 2 shirts, and we're going to do 2 videos in one set. So like if you're going to be busy or you're going to be out of town, you can do that, especially if you're already doing, because once you're doing deals together, you're talking each week anyway. Like you're already part of that. So you don't need that additional. But the other cool thing is, like sometimes it's possible you go on vacation, you don't talk to them for a while. Like real estate agents, like even if you're doing 20 deals, it's not 2 a month. It's 7 in 2 months. And then you got a couple 0 months, and then you got a 3 month. And what Marcus said, he said one of the best things is it gives him a reason to reach out to his realtor partners that he hasn't talked to for a while. And, just say, hey, we haven't done a video in a while. Let's put a time on the calendar and do that. Versus, hey, why do you not love me anymore? Do you just not have any business? Loser.
Why haven't you sent me any business? Right? It's a good excuse or a good excuse to reach out. Yeah.
Because even if you don't say that, you're both thinking it. Right. And so this is like, he's like literally, hey, let's just do a video. It's been a while.
Right. It's the for me, it makes me think of the board games or the campfire, right? It's the excuse that creates the opportunity for the conversation, right? Same thing.
Yeah.
What you really want to talk about is how can I get more deals? But when you just talk about it, how do I get more deals? Like it's awkward. It doesn't work right. You need something else to talk about.
Well, and the flip here, the switch is what you really want to talk about is how can I help you get the life of your dreams, realtor? Like how can I find out what you want and make sure that I'm aligned with that? And then how do I help you grow your business? Like how do I help you? Because I know if I help you and I enjoy it, like my goal is to be a partner for a long time.
Right. I love it. Okay. So let's think through. So, going back to our 3 steps. Let's see, I've been taking lots of notes, so I need to go back to my earlier notes. Okay. So we got after the 90 days, if I like them, we keep doing it. You just talked through that a little bit. Is there anything else that you could think through practically? So thinking through literally the mechanics of this, right? So we know who to reach out to, right? We know how to kind of constantly have new realtors to do. Maybe talk through the mechanics of that from a numerical standpoint. What do the numbers look like? How many realtors am I reaching out to? How many of them am I going to actually do tests with? How often do I need to, it's funny. I was going to say add people to the pipeline, right? But the metaphor that actually came to mind because of the thing I saw is how often do I need to water the tree of liberty with the blood of with the
tyrants?
The blood of tyrants. Yeah. Anyway. 4th of July is on my mind, folks. But
America.
Anyway, sorry, I got distracted by where my mind took me. Walk me through those numbers, though. What does that look like?
I mean, so the question for you is like, how many deals do you want to do?
Okay.
And how much do you want to work? So we'll use Mark, for example, he wants to do this with 15 realtors, and he takes Fridays off. He coaches his kids' teams. He's,
Right.
He actually got a call from the realtor that referred his son just the other day, and Mark was at a baseball game. He's like, "Hey, I'm coaching my kids. Can I call you when I get home?" He's like, "Yeah, take care of your kid." It's those type of relationships,
Right.
So like, how many deals do you want? We assume that with this system, like that you're probably going to be able to get 6 buyer sides a year from each realtor. And so, with 15, that puts you at 90 deals from your realtors. Of course, we're also marketing to your sphere of influence. Most lenders are going to get 2 deals a year from that. So now, now you're at around 111 deals. You can take Fridays off. We've got lenders that'll help you, get a loan officer system that's really good. Basically, our goal is that you don't have incoming business problems anymore. Now you got operation problems. And what we found is
what was the number again? How many realtors gets us there?
15. So 15 realtors, 6 deals a year. That's 90 deals.
Okay.
And first, you're going to get your own sphere of influence.
So we're targeting, for sake of like connecting with realtor partners, we're targeting to get to 15 of our ideal realtor partners.
Yeah.
Most often, where are people starting, and so what does it take to get there?
Yeah, so you usually have like your Fave 5. You got the realtors that are already like your ride or die. You can tell them, it's 2:30 a.m. Hey, I need to come pick you up. It's really important, and they hop in the car with you, no questions asked.
Right.
So really great. Start with them, and because like these are the people you love. You're going to help them grow their business.
Right.
That's it. And then what Mark's doing is he's kind of building it out where his goal is that he does like 5 interviews a week. He's taking Friday off, so like 1 a day, like 4 or 5 a week. Just the first interview. He's probably going to invite. You're not going to invite them all. Did they show up? Did you enjoy talking to them? The goal is really to be picky. Like, is this someone, like, if right off the bat, like, I'm not going to like that person, don't invite them.
Right.
But then you invite them to the 90 days. What we've seen, when you invite realtors to the 90 days, 3 out of the 10 are going to become partners. That's why we call it the realtor filter. At first, we were like, why is this happening? But we all know, like, in any industry, like, the majority, like, are subpar. Like, the reason the high achievers are high achievers is because they're high achievers. Like, you want to work with the top people. So 7 out of 10, like, they're either just not going to show up, you're not going to like them, it's going to be boring. Most of you are going to flake out. They're not going to be able to finish the 90 days. But out of the 10, there's going to be 3, and usually there's going to be 2 good partners and 1 rock star. Now, of course, if you pick better, like, you eventually get better. But imagine if you've got, I like to say, imagine you're inviting 5 people, 5 realtors a month into the 90-day trial.
Right.
Is a really good suggestion.
Say that again.
So, invite 5 realtors a month into the 90-day trial. So you might have 10 interviews, and invite 5 of them. That's where, we meet Thursday. We meet every Thursday with the lenders to see what's working. Mark, Jerry, all of them give each other suggestions. Like, we figure that out.
Love it.
But then the goal is, go ahead.
That's 10 interviews per month. So that's top of funnel, new people that you're vetting to see if they pass the realtor filter. You have the first stage of the realtor filter, which is just that initial gut check. How did the interview go? Do I want to work with them further? Do I want to do more with them? That sort of idea. Then you have the 90 days. Out of the 90 days, 3 and 10 will turn into partners. Okay, cool. Keep going.
Yeah. And that's great, because what's cool about it, even the 7 that didn't, you weren't chasing them. You were leading with a giving hand. If you've got a buyer that's going to buy one of their listings, they're going to have a really great experience of you, and they're going to be like, oh yeah, like I know this guy, he's awesome, I've talked to him a lot. That's helpful.
Right.
So like you're not losing, like you're gaining all the way around, which is amazing. And so out of that 10, you're going to get 3 partners, and then it's really like how many do you want? Is 15 good? I have one I've got one lender, he's cool with 5. His goal is 5.
Right.
And I've got a few that are at 10, because that ends up being 1 a day. I've got one lender, he ends up he books all of his in on Thursdays, so he just does it back to back on Thursdays. But whatever number it is, like you're expecting that you're leading with a giving hand, you're helping them, and once you hit your number, then you can keep doing the interviews to kind of build. That's where you build your waiting list.
Right.
You can actually say, you do it, and you can either say I've got a waiting list, or just maybe a few months down the road, if you got some more space, be like, hey, we did this a few months ago. I've got a few realtors that I do this with every other week. Would you be interested for 90 days?
Right. Yeah, I love it. Yeah, so I mean, you ultimately build up to whatever that number that feels like your maintenance number, and then from there, now you got the waiting list of people that quite honestly, people are probably going to start coming across your marketing that's happening, that's going out to the people that you're connecting with, the conversations that you're having, etc. So you might have realtors that are like, hey, I'd like to do that too. Can I do that? Right? And you say, hey, no, not right now, you can't, because I don't have room. But let me note you down for my waiting list, and if I get room, I'll reach out. And I love that.
And you will, like Jessica, this was great. She was part of the core coaching. So she did, the 60 calls a week and the 15 coffees and the 5 lunches. And she pursued this realtor for 2 years. And she started doing this, and he called her out of the blue, said, hey, I've got a client that needs a loan. Would you be able to help? And so she's like, I think it's from this. Like, I haven't talked to him. And then at closing, her and her husband went out to dinner with him and his wife. And her husband was like, yeah, so how'd this happen? Like I said, I saw a couple of her videos online, and I had this client that, like, my other lender couldn't do the loan. And so I thought about calling her, and it was like completely out of the blue,
Right.
So you will get that.
Yeah. Love it. All right, let's see. So that, I think that covers those parts of the process. So we know kind of what the numbers are. We know how many people we need to reach out to. We know what that does in terms of hitting our goals. Is there anything else? Are there any other problems that your ideal target market, so your ideal target market being the lenders specifically, that they're facing, that you've figured out solutions that are part of your system?
How do you get realtor partners without chasing them? Mark, he's actually, he's not trying to recruit loan officers, but he's got loan officers that come to him and that are under his brokerage. And he actually helps them, says, hey, here's how I've used this system to grow my branch. Right. And so if you're wanting to recruit loan officers, it's a great system. You can literally do this. Like, if I was going to do this as a loan officer, I would go to a loan officer I was looking to recruit and be like, I don't want you to move at all. Stay where you're at. I'd love to help you grow your business for the next 90 days.
Right.
Let's do this. And, because that's how I grew my real estate team. I told people, you can't join me right now. I want to teach you for the next month. And at the end of the month, if we like each other, then we can work. And I got to be the biggest team, within it. within 9 months because
Right.
it's as our friend Frank says, you trick them into thinking that you're going to help them by actually
Actually
helping
help
them.
them.
So like that, Mark uses it for that. It's a great way to.
So the problem being recruiting, essentially saying like, hey, here's the struggle that you run into. How do you recruit people at other places without coming across, slimy? How do you do it in a way that actually helps them, that you feel good about, that they feel good about? And you can literally just help them with this. And kind of the same way as the realtor filter, the right people will fairly naturally end up coming over and doing this process with you and growing their business and result and wanting to work with you too, right?
Yeah.
And so it's essentially the playbook of helping them do that. And so, like, for sake of the hook of the webinar, it's all the same stuff, but would you have a I'm looking for loan officers to feature, to do content, and is it literally the same thing as the realtors? Or
yeah, like it's pretty much. So what's probably going to happen is loan officers are going to come to you and ask what you're doing.
Right.
And the difference is now we actually also get a list of lenders that you want to target, so they see your content as well. They're much more open to it because they're like, I see you everywhere. How are you doing it?
Right.
Most loan officers, they've switched before. Switching is such a pain, and they've had it where they were promised the world and promised all this help, and then they get over and it's not what they've been told. So the fact that you can say, look, I don't even want you to come over yet. Like, I just want to help you. It's just really great psychology.
Right.
Like that's probably, so like my current lenders, like they're not wanting to do that. Like Mark, he's got people that come to him, and if they jump through his hoops, they're lottery ticket LOs, right? If they jump through his hoops and like he's a good fit, like he'll help them.
So tell me more about that. That, like, so just as a potential hook. Maybe. So what we want with the webinars is we want to lead with what people want, to give them what they need, right? So I'm just thinking through this out loud. We want to attract your ideal people, right? The lenders that are in alignment with this, they believe in sphere marketing. They have that zone already, and we want to attract them and see how this system could help them. I'm just thinking through.
Probably a better one would be
just real quick, the potential hook, and this may not end up being a good one because of it, but whatever Mark's system for the hooks that he has them jump through, that might end up being a good hook, right? Of like, when you're dealing with this and you want to recruit people, here's the problem that you run into with recruiting people and why it's a waste of your time and all that. Here's the process that I set people through in order to actually not waste my time and only end up with the best, right? That as a webinar could be good to the right people, as long as they experience the same thing where there's LOs coming to them.
Right.
But answer this question to me. Do people deal with that problem if they're not using your system?
No.
Okay. So
No.
it's content for your best customers, but not necessarily. Okay. Yeah. So that may not be a good hook. It's worth noting as a maybe. Yeah. But anyway, go ahead. What were you going to say?
So it is a good way to recruit LOs. But maybe the other thing, so Mark does this and Jerry does this, and it's phenomenal. Like Mark, he says he works like 2 hours a day that feels like work, Monday through Thursday. And then the rest of the day, he gets to work on stuff he loves and do the videos with realtors. What he's got another, it's how he's processed it. Mark's got Autumn, and he calls it his automation. And then Jerry's got his Cheryl. And what they figured out, which I think is just brilliant, they both have hired an experienced loan officer, like 15 years. They put him on salary around $50,000. And this is a great loan officer that doesn't want to be a hunter, doesn't want to and what Mark's done is she can actually do her own deals and get paid for it. So she ends up making, more, like 75 to 90K. But it is the business of her dreams. She's able to be a loan officer. She's able to, she's really good, and she doesn't have to worry about building business. Like she just works the business. And Jerry's got the same thing, almost identical. And so what's really cool is if you're like, I don't want to grow anymore because I don't want to do all the paperwork, and people try to hire underwriters and VAs, and they've really found this great thing. If you find you don't hire someone that you got to train to be an LO, it's just too hairy. But you find someone that's at least 15 years, put them on salary, let them do their own loans as well. And so Mark, most of the time, now he talks to them for the pre-qual, and he may not talk to them again. He may call just to see how they're doing, but it's completely handled. And
so that as a transformation is essentially the system of you're time poor, or you don't want to be doing this work that you don't want to do, right? How do we get you your time back? That's the problem that we're solving with this. And so the kind of the key hook of it is it's why the VAs don't work. It's why what was the other thing that people try that you mentioned?
The underwriters, they're usually too mean. The new LO that you're trying to train doesn't work.
So it's essentially who's the actual right people? So the webinar itself could be an exploration of, well, here's all the things that people try that don't work, right? VAs. Here's why VAs don't work, right? Or why it's more of a pain than it's a help. Here's why the underwriters don't work. Here's why the new LOs don't work. So what's the right zone? Well, the right zone is these people. And then potentially, so talk about why it works well, how to select them, how to find them, what the process is to actually potentially bring them on, how to vet them, and then the promised land of what it's like to work with them. Although that might not be the sequence of how you deliver it. If you had to say, there may not be, and there doesn't necessarily need to be, but is there alignment in that for how it connects you to the right people for referrals while you sleep?
Both, Paul, he's one of the folks. He's had someone like this. Mark has someone like this. Jerry does. Jessica is one of my lenders. She's looking for someone like this. We've actually been with her. She's tried the others that didn't work out. So, my ideal is a lender that's in the business, successful, wants to grow because they want to grow. And maybe one of the reasons that's holding them back is they don't want to spend more time. And so this could open that up.
So that makes sense. Is there a clear way that this would naturally solve step one so you could sell step two, or be slow lane versus fast lane? Is there a way that you could see where you could see how solving this problem creates the demand for what you do?
So one of the reasons this works is they are working with sphere of influence and referred clients. It will not work as well if you're working with leads, because leads are going to shop you. They're exhausting. There's more fires to put out. They're less trusting. And so this experienced LO that just wants to be a really great LO is going to be much more burnout. And it's not as profitable, and they want to die. So referral based business is almost required, if that makes sense. Does that make sense?
Yep. So it's kind of like this works because the business that they're working with is less stressful to work with. Right. So they aren't dealing with the chaos. They aren't dealing with that. So part of why it feels like they won the lottery is because they're not having to hunt for the deals, and the deals that they're being brought are They're a joy to work with. They're easy to work with.
Right.
It's not that there's never problems, because it's real estate and there's always some level of problems, but you're dealing with people. You're dealing with the people that are typically the nice people to work with, and the ones that aren't nice to work with are much fewer and far between, if they even come up at all, right? That makes sense. And so
some will come up, but like one of the things that Mark does is he pays the bonus to his team if they get the closing package delivered 7 days in advance. And he said, I was the reason. He said, I always talked about the problems of the last 3 days. He said, so I just decided not to have those. So we get all the documents delivered 7 days in advance. As long as they do that, they get a bonus. So we just skip them. And again, that happens because you're working with referrals. You've got a really great LO partner. You've got bandwidth. And if he grows more, he's just going to get a second one of these.
Love it. Okay, cool. I love that as a hook. I think that's great. And that one to me, it's not your primary, right? Like, because everything else that we talked about more clearly creates the direct demand for your stuff. But when we're looking at like, what's the thing that I could do that's like the Hail Mary approach of how can I get the attention of the person I want to talk to that's a good fit for the other thing? This is a really great option for that, where it's like they're busy, they're inundated, and they may not even be thinking. Like, referrals while you sleep helps them to solve mentally the how do I get more business? Well, if they already have too much business, maybe because they're working the wrong kinds of business, right? Or they haven't solved this problem. Solving this actually creates some level of the demand for that. It's looser. It's not as directly tied together, but I still love it for that point. Because again, we're looking at like, how do we market to these people for life in a way where
how do we really help them?
Yeah. And so it, as long as we're helping the right people, right, where it's the people who have the kinds of problems that we're looking to solve, then even if it's not directly creating the demand for what you do, it's still worthwhile. It's just not what we prioritize. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Anything else that you can think through, problems that they're running into that you're familiar with, solutions or that you've helped solve?
So one that I'm working on, I don't have solved yet. I need to talk to Adam. But one of the issues with getting the initial calls, I'm actually going to work on I'm running a test with Mark using voice AI to set up those initial views. So if we figure that out and that works, that could be a great one where we can show the easy way and the fast lane, slow lane. That would be amazing. And then what else?
And so the hooker transformation is how to make that part even easier. Okay. Anything else in terms of problems that loan officers are dealing with that?
It could be there's not enough good realtors or not enough business in their area.
Okay.
Like one of the cool things is this lets you build a relationship with realtors in other areas, and you actually help them grow their business no matter where they are in the States. One of the things that worked really well with Paul is, Paul worked with a handful of agents across the country. He had a couple in California, me in Nashville, one in Georgia, some up in Pennsylvania, a couple in Florida, so that when the market goes crazy, the market goes crazy at different places, he was much more stable and he was able to really have a great relationship and help realtors across the country. So you're not, locked in. And, one of the lenders that I talk with, he's right outside of DC. And what he did is he went to, instead of going to in Nashville, we've got Davidson County. Instead of going to Davidson County, he would go to the surrounding counties. He said, because all the lenders called the big hitters in the main county, but they forgot about all the others. And the fact that you're not driving to meet them, or they're not driving to meet you, you can actually have a relationship and get the best agents wherever they are.
Love that.
So
Love that.
You can get the top 10, 15, top 20. You only need to find a few that you really want to help,
So it solves the problem of having more of an area that you could reach, where it's like, how do you build relationships at a distance? How do you build relationships? How do you build relationships at a distance, even in your local market? How do you do it? How do you do it in out of state areas as well, where so that you could get some stability. I love that as an overall transformation. I think there's a number of different conceptual hooks. So they may not be different webinars, but like how you sell the webinar, right? Like if you're dealing with people that feel like the market's really inconsistent or things are slow, it's like, well, hey, maybe part of the solution is how do you build the relationships in the market where there's a lot of business going on, right? Like how do you do that?
Yeah.
I love that.
Increase your price point, and there's some things you can say, stop going to realtor caravans, stop going to open houses. And this is one of those, Frank Kern did this. He's like we can show the old way, and the old way still works. There's just a much easier way now, that would be it.
Love it.
Yeah,
Love it. Yeah. Anything else that you could think through of problems that lender. So this is a good, if you have anything, let's talk through it. But if you don't, this is a good question to ask the lenders as well, to say, hey, what are some of the things that you've solved in your business that used to be painful that you're doing differently now? Or like even exploring these questions with them and saying, what do you do? Like, how do you run your business and why? Because that's part of what makes my method work as well, is literally just going to your top success stories and finding out even the things outside of what you do together, just the other things that matter in their business, can make a big difference on having content that, just like we discovered with their automation, right?
Right.
That portion, that's not specifically about what you do. It's tangentially related. But anything that's like that, how they're generating leads, how they're having conversations, how they structure their deals to make them as easy as possible and work well. Any of that information is potentially worth exploring. So you potentially having conversations with them of extracting those ideas and seeing what comes up is like, man, that seems really smart. That seems like a really interesting hook or angle. That's a great way for you to discover even more. But with that being said, anything else that you could think of?
I think that's all the main stuff.
Perfect. Let me see if there's anything else that I can think of in this vein. So we know that we want to reach the lender partners. Is there ever the angle where the right realtors can be the source of the right lender partners? Have you ever? I know from your experience that that's not often the case, but has that ever been the case where you found that?
Before I answer that, there is actually another really cool angle. I call them boomerang realtors.
Okay.
And every lender has faced this. They've got a realtor they've worked with a lot, and then all of a sudden they're just not sending them business anymore.
Right.
And then all of a sudden they start sending them business again. And that is one of the biggest opportunities, because they've got positioning. The realtor is literally coming to you, and they usually do nothing with it because they've just been so beat up that they just they got PTSD. They expect. It's what happens. Realtors leave, they come back. They leave, they come back.
Right.
And I've been asking them, like, what do you do when you, and I called it the boomerang realtor. Like, what do you do when you get the boomerang realtor? And they're like, I don't really have a plan. I text them and say thanks. And so this is a great way. And I've done that. I've been kind of a realtor orphan here lately. And I want a partner. And so you got this lead, I really want to show thank you. I'd love to interview you. You run the play. I want to interview you, share with us. Man, I really enjoy this. I would, if you want to do this. The other thing is you can then go out to lunch. Going out to lunch still works. Or have them to your office, do a 5, 6, 7 with them. Find out the Dan Sullivan question. Where do you want to be in 3 years? Find out what do we do right? What did we do wrong? What did we do? I really like working with you. I want to help you grow your business, and I don't want to lose you again. You're one of my favorite people to work with. So I mean, so many lenders are doing everything to chase realtors, and they've got realtors that, they're it's really like a lottery ticket. They're coming to you. They're willing to jump through your hoops. There's a reason, and whatever the reason is, double down on that. So that's I think a huge opportunity that I've never seen any lender do well with.
That makes sense. Do you have anything to speak to that would say, how do you get more of them to boomerang back? Like referrals while you sleep, does that help with that too? Meaning,
so you are more you're top of mind. We export the list of realtors and make sure they see you. When you run into them, invite them to a video. They might have just forgot you. You might have done something to piss them off.
right.
When you lead with a giving hand, I would even say, have the balls to, say, hey, what did we do right? What did we do wrong? Maybe you do that in week 6,
There's something that stands out in this. I'll get it into the transcript. So one, you're potentially going to have more of these because you're going to be top of mind with any of those that have been on your list, right? So you're going to have people that just remember you. So yeah, great. Here's how you take advantage of the ones that come to you. But you can create more of these opportunities by saying, hey, we worked together in the past. It's a great excuse to reactivate somebody as well, right? So what I love about this is that you get to teach the same basic process as the other one, but it's like a specific subset of here's another zone, another silo, another opportunity. It's the same overall process, same overall play, but minorly adjusted to create more opportunity here. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So when you're speaking to this, you could speak to that. You could there's a few angles where it's all really the same of the people that are coming to you, but then, hey, the reality is that there's more of these lurking. If you reach out to them with the right offer, the right excuse, you create that relationship again. And so it's an easy way rather than, the Thor's hammer of pain. You actually have easy conversations, right?
Yeah. And the other cool thing is you're going to have less of that with this. You really are going to build a moat, because the truth is, lenders are chasing good realtors. They're going to get a lot of calls, but when you're actually helping them get where they want to be,
right,
in as little time as possible, so that's the other thing. You're going to have less of that.
Right.
If you really commit to being a growth partner and you're helping them get where they want to be, the right ones are going to be very grateful.
Yeah, that makes sense. I love it. That's another great angle. That's part of why I ask again. When we feel like we've tapped it all out, there's more. There's always more. What else was I going to say? Okay, so where we were when you remembered that was the right realtor partners. Right?
Oh, gotcha.
So,
have I ever seen it work? I haven't.
Okay, so that's not an angle. That's not an angle I want to go down then, because we want to focus on the right people that you're actually pursuing. Just to close the loop for anybody that may be watching this right now, there's nobody, but there have been people, and who knows what you do with the clips? Who knows what I do with the clips? The reason why I was going down that angle is just because it's another angle to explore to see, can we solve the problems of those realtors, and from solving those problems, bring along the right lender partner. But we're typically seeing that that's just not the right way for you to find the right people. But there's obviously a whole wealth of how you could help solve realtor partners' problems. Just what we figured out is really part of what makes this work is the scalability that you find from the lenders, right? So really, we're not finding the lenders typically through the realtors. We're finding the lenders that are motivated.
And if the realtor goes to the realtor is going to ask the lender to pay for part of it.
Right.
And the realtor is going to think they're in charge. The realtor is not going to hold the lender accountable for the video.
Right.
And the lender's not going to, or the realtor is not going to hold themselves accountable. So part of the value of this is the lender is the one that sets up the Zoom call. The lender is the one that hits record. The lender is the one that's holding them accountable. The lender is the one that uploads the video. And part of that makes it easy because the lender's in his office while the realtor's out in the car most of the time. And
part of what makes this work is, like you've said, in the lender realtor relationship, the lender in the right relationships, the lender is at a deficit of what they're bringing to the table typically, and that's real, right? So part of what makes this work is that the lender does have something to lose by not doing this, whereas the realtor does, but not in the same way, right? And so part of what makes this work is like you're able to, honestly, it's similar to why like it's worked for us to do content together. At least getting started, especially where we both got something from it. You have to have selfish interest in order to really make it viable. So there's kind of a same thing where it is hard work to consistently show up to do content until you really build that as a habit. And you need somebody who's like, in most cases, I think what we have is a little bit special, where it's pretty rare that people are so focused on creating the content that like, you just know that you need to. It's different in most cases where you almost need somebody that's going to be like, hey, are you going to show up? Are you going to show up? Are you going to show up? Right? Anyway, so that makes sense.
And it reminds me a lot, like when I was in, like, whenever I've gone to the gym consistently, I've always had someone that I met there. And if it's just on my calendar, I'm going to blow it off. If I know that you're waiting on me, I'm going to show up for you. Right? Like I'm not like, I'm okay letting myself down, especially in real estate. It's so busy, exhausting, but like, I'm going to show up for you. And, according to the realtor filter, like 7 out of 10 ain't, but you don't want those. You want the 3 out of 10, and, I mean, there's companies that charge $1,000 just to hold you accountable to do your video, or, or 2,000 or whatever. And, so that's valuable, but then you just sit there and do a solo video. Whereas this, it's really amazing how it's rolled out.
I love it. Yeah. I'm trying to think if there's any, so I'm searching my mind for if there's any other hooks or prods that I can take you down, to see if there's any more opportunities. I mean, I think the one that I said about reaching out to your lenders, that's probably like, if we want it, like there's going to be a lot of hooks that come out of what we just did already. If we need to explore it further, that's probably what I'd do is I'd say, let's book another call. Let's bring on, like your top lenders that are smart, that speak well to this. Let's ask some of these same questions. What are some problems in your business? And then from that, we'd be able to find some of those lateral hooks that we could go down. That's probably where I would go next. You could do that yourself for sake of seeing if you can come up with any of those ideas. I've
done a couple of those calls with Mark Day already. Can I send you those transcripts?
Yeah.
Would that be helpful?
Yeah. So you could, well, I mean, so you could send me those and we should process them on another call. So like that, that would be the best way to do it. So that's a path that we could go down. We could go down that of saying, let's analyze those. Let's extract out the hooks, that we could see, and see if there's anything new or different or unique that comes out of that. Cause it very well might be, right? Like when you're talking to smart people, there's lots of things that happen that you sort of forget because it's not top of mind. That makes sense.
I will say, I just had a lender say they went to their title company and said, hey, who's 3 realtors I should speak to?
Right.
I'm going to send you all my business when we get the refi. So you can go to your lender, you can go to your title and ask for that. If you get in the habit, you can do the duo videos, like maybe with a builder or, we've tried financial advisors. That's not worked well because they've got so many regulations. We've, it could possibly work like with divorce attorneys or whatever, but like a divorce attorney, a few of their clients are going to need you. With real estate agents, almost every single real estate agent that has a buyer is going to need you. And even if you don't do the loan, you might do the HELOC later.
Right.
So
yeah, the only other one that I could think of, that could be a good zone, would be like your really big wholesalers where especially if they're doing marketing, where they, especially if they're doing enough marketing where they have deals, they have opportunities. There might be like enough of a flow of business, the ones that they can't capitalize on, or especially that. I mean, a lot of them are still gonna have some level of financial.
I mean, this system works great for investors,
right?
Because it basically turns their whole community, everyone in their phone, into bird dogs,
right?
And investors can usually pay finder's fees legally because they don't have their license, and one of those deals can make them 25, 50, 100 grand. Right. And I've got a couple investors in my family that I do this for, and every time I'm like, "What deals are you working? How do you get them?" Someone from over the way called me because they see me all the time, and with those, I'd recommend you do the videos once a quarter or once a month. You batch them because it's a little bit less, but really, I mean, the bread and butter, like most lenders, if you had 15 solid realtors and then you got some investors, you got some other folks, it works really well.
I wonder if part of it's kind of the same thing where you figured out that right zone for the realtors, like which realtors are the right fit. It might be the same thing with the wholesale partners, right? Because like I know I'm working with some wholesalers right now that are doing like 20 to 30 deals a month, right? So like for those guys, they're, at least in terms of opportunity, there's a good amount of opportunity to get in front of, right?
Right. Yeah. You might want to do that with them once a month.
Yeah.
Just to have that top of mind awareness.
Exactly. Yeah. That's something that we should explore further. That might be another hook, another angle. That one's probably what I would call in the, if we develop out the system, that would be a good hook. Let me see.
That's for the people that say, I love everything you do and I still want more. Right.
Yeah, exactly. What was I going to say? Oh, okay. So like next steps from here. We've actually done a little bit of this already, where I'd say we've explored the core teaching. We might have enough to develop out a webinar around some of these things. So, meaning like we might have it already where we could just literally develop out the slides on some of it. We still need to explore, make sure that I have what I need to on the who documentation, that we have what we need on the offer specifically for the webinar, potentially mapping the core system a little bit more, maybe. I'd have to see. But the next step from here would be after this, I'll take this transcript and we'll get back an exhaustive list of our hooks. I also put together any of the hooks that we really explored in depth, where we have more of an in-depth breakdown of those. From that, there's typically questions around, is there more that we need to cover on the teaching? Is there more to this, more specifics, that sort of idea? And that develops out the core teaching. But then typically from that, from that list of documents, or from that list of hooks, from there we select what would be the first one to go after and make sure that we have that one fully developed out as the webinar that you launch with. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And then we go through the process of making sure we've got the documented stuff for that webinar. A lot of that stuff that we document is reusable in future webinars, like the who documentation. The offer's often the same. Like a lot of that stuff, it's just the core teaching that you need to do each time. But and so then you'll have a map of content that you can literally do for like the next 6 to 12 months, and at that point you can literally reuse it, which is powerful. You don't have to redo these. You could literally use them as evergreen things. So there's ways to scale with it too, which is really powerful. Although there can be value in doing it live again. But yeah, so that's kind of that's the next steps from here. So on the next call, we'll assess this call. We'll get together that documentation. We'll look through it and figure out what the top one is. From what we've talked about, is there anything that we talked about that, thinking back through it, that you're like, I think this topic is probably where we need to start? Does that make sense?
The hardest thing is getting that first conversation.
Right.
Like that. I mean, that's the first hardest. That's probably where 80% of the time, attention, pain is. And what's cool is when you solve that, the next 80% is how do I get them to talk to me again?
Right.
So I think that's like if I was going to pick one, I think that is like, how do I get a conversation with a realtor without Thor's hammer?
Right.
You know,
love it. That makes sense to me, and that completely connects. So that to me would probably be the webinar concept that we'd hook on. So I mean, that's your first step in your overall system, is how we're making that easy, and it really creates the demand and the need for the rest of the system too.
Right.
Which is really powerful. So what's cool is like it solves the need for, you solve that really well on one webinar. It opens the loop of saying, hey, here's the next steps that you're going to need. This is part of what we help you with. We'll teach you all of this in our system. We'll go through all this and show you how to make it easy and make it push button simple and all that. But it also creates demand for the other webinars, where you go in and you teach the concepts in the other webinars too. So there's a lot of power in that. And it even like it creates some level of demand too, where outside of a webinar, if you want to document this in like a mid-ticket offer and test running it as a paid thing, it creates the demand for those in a way too, where like the webinar, you're going to dive into it, but you're going to keep it narrowed to what you could cover in like an hour. Right. And so you might want to dive into things in more depth, give people more examples, give people more templates, and that's really well structured for a mid-ticket offer, but it's the same information. It's just more of a full walkthrough. And so it gives you sort of all these different ways to package this stuff together to go through and do that. So anyway, but yeah, so next call,
I love it.
We'll assess this call. We'll look at the hooks, but I think you're right. I think that one sounds like the right one to start. So that's probably what we'd go into next. We want to do the step of looking through this stuff just to make sure we have it. But yeah, that's what comes next. So far, how are you? Like, you've been through this experience with me before. How are you liking like what we're doing and the potential that comes from it at this point? What does it make you think of?
I mean, one, it's so much faster, right? I mean, it was probably a month before we were close to where we're at now. Right. And it's been 4 hours, total, I think. Right. It's also just like so much more put together, I mean, you had a proven workable system then, but, with, what you're doing with Obsidian and like, you got everything laid out, I mean, it probably took us like 2.5 hours to brainstorm hooks before. Right. Whereas, I mean, now, that was there. I think also it's really cool. Like, I know my system really well. I've talked to a lot of marketers, a lot of trainers, but no one has like this. Like, most people give me like a worksheet and tell me to think through.
Right.
Like the fact that I can just answer your questions here, and they're really good questions, and you're good at like making sure it's complete and keep pulling it out. Like, it doesn't seem painful. It doesn't seem hard. It actually gets finished.
Right.
I think that like it really does feel easy. It just really transitioned. Like, I was just thinking about, I just went to that mastermind and I got a thing of like workbooks to fill out. I don't have that here. Like, I answer questions and it's done. And so I think the fact that I know my product really well helps. And I mean, if I didn't, like, your questions would actually really help.
Right. I love that.
I think what I'm most excited about, actually at the mastermind, one guy, he showed that he's got 9 things that he talks about. And at his Lunch and Learn, he talked about one and said, hey, if you want my help with this, just come by my booth. And then, he did the demo call and he got my money. Right. And he said, yeah, I've got 9 of these. So if I saw you 9 times, I could do each one. And, most things that I've seen, like you got one perfect webinar, the fact that this is a lifetime, like this is so much. The fact that Russell's got his 3 secrets that are just to sell. Like this is just so in depth, so powerful. I mean, I can keep helping them for such a long time until it's it's inevitable, that they're going to have to give me money if they want the result, right?
Right. And even if it's only they become, even if they figure out for whatever reason that they're not a good fit, and I don't know why they'd figure that out, but if they figure that out, they still understand your system so well that they can actually make a good referral. Right. And that will happen, right? Where you have people that are like, oh, I get where this fits. Like you need to buy this. Like this does what you're looking for. I think that's part of what's powerful. And literally it turns it so that instead of having to constantly generate new leads, which you don't like leads are liabilities, right? Instead of having to constantly fill the top of your funnel, like you still do, because like you said, there's going to be atrophy.
And that is specifically for real estate. We can generate demand here. That's the thing with the 10%. Like you can't generate that demand. Marketing works for us, and we can generate better leads because we've got a back-end system, right?
Right. Well, and part of what's powerful about this is that it reduces the demand of what you need your front end to be able to do, right? Like you can pay more for leads if you need to. You can generate less leads and have more of them turn into opportunity on the lifetime ROI, right? So it's like you get to this point where this thing that you develop builds out momentum because you can keep marketing to the same list over and over and over and over again and keep having opportunities pop out because of how this works. You're actually building momentum. You're building more influence, more authority over time through this system because of how we do it. It's not a you either buy it and you move forward or not. And we have to leverage massive audiences in order to find those opportunities. We could do this process with the right people over and over and over again, where we build those raving fans. And I love it. I love it, man. So I hopefully you can see I think that understanding, that impact of how do we keep doing this has really made a big difference. Because it's re-geared what I'm building. I'm not building, here's exactly the right way to do it. It's here's the right principles, but we need to do this a bunch of times really to figure out there's going to be some things that are better at activating somebody on the front end. And there's going to be some things that are better at solving the next problem to make the overarching journey more clear for them. Right. And anyway, and either way, you having clarity on that gives you those things where it's you know how to have the conversations, how the next step, you really, anyway. At the software conference, I talked to so many people that had huge lists, and their question is how do I get them to buy? How do I hammer them? They're looking at ISAs, they're looking at, all these things, and they're just dormant, and they send emails, and, the question is, and they pay, they're talking about how you pay salespeople, and you can get salespeople to call them and convince them. I believe probably, one of the biggest expenses is talking to people that aren't ready to buy. Right. Because if you can get them pre-sold, you don't have to have a good salesperson. You really have an order taker. Right. It's easier, for the salesman to get more referrals. Right. It's easier for the salesman to sell them higher. But when they come in and they know, you also don't have to have as many. You don't have to spend as much on ISAs. Right. And to me, that's my experience is the biggest bottleneck is speaking to people that don't know who you are, what you do, and they're 99% sure they want to hire you before you talk. And that's what you're going to let me do for a long time. Right. And we'll implant the system. You'll know how to run it. Part of what's cool is literally this thing gets evergreen too. So you run through the stuff, you create the stuff, you can keep re-leveraging those replays. Like and that may be hard to believe, but I've seen it. Like I've seen it where literally the same webinar is just marketed back to that same list 3-4 times a year and keeps popping off profitable deals, right? Like,
because they just weren't ready.
Yeah. And like, it depends on the market, I think, for how it works, where, and all of that. But like, I've seen it. Like, that's part of why I'm confident in the overall process of like, you could rerun the same thing. And literally it's just a recording. And there's a few components that you want live, but like, you don't need to actively be like on and presenting. It's
right.
Yeah. Anyway, but yeah.
That's really cool. Well, thank you so much, man.
Got it.
I'm excited.
All right. Well, there we go. I think if we click the button, I think it still does the outro. So that we got some ship done. We'll get some more done next time.
Bye.
Hey.